It's football season, and that means it's bug season. Heck, who am I kidding? It's always bug season in Texas. And that's why you need Grandeur Pest Solutions in your corner. They're locally owned and operated. They're trained, they're trustworthy, and they have a proven record as they have been in business for almost 10 years. They provide pest control against ants, bed bugs, bees, roaches, fleas, wasps, mosquitoes, rodents, spiders. If it crawls and you don't like it, they're probably going to take care of it for you. Now, they serve all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're locally owned. These two guys have been running this business since 2013, and every year they get bigger and bigger. But you know what they still do? They still have great customer service. In fact, if you get a hold of them, they're usually going to have your quote and your job ready to go within 48 hours. That's pretty good. Now, you can call them for a free estimate at 469-809-1769. You can find them online at Grandeur4, that's the number 4, shore.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Grandeur Pet Solutions, and we are so happy.
You rotten bums! You overpaid winners! Vile thing! You make my butt sting! I detest you! You're all garbage! All of you! Back up the truck! Back it up! I told you.
Exactly.
Bring out the tarp. Cover the field. I can't watch this anymore. It's over. Turn the lights out. Let's get the...
That's exactly how we feel on Loser Monday as the Dallas Cowboys. They didn't lose. They just ran out of time. Well, no, the Broncos ran out of time, or they might have scored 60. Speaking of, before we begin, let me welcome the 17,000 people that are in the room right now. I apologize that you thought this was some kind of Pornhub. Maybe I need to stop posting Noe Gets Naked Watch Now on YouTube. But does it feel like over the last 4 or 5 years, there are just more blowouts in the NFL?
I mean, this week was pretty indicative of that. It really almost feels like there are teams that are just so much better than another. There was a point for a few years though where it was always close games. You couldn't tell me that the top team in the league was a 3-touchdown favorite over the 5th worst team in the league. There were always like 1 to 2 score games. It's just the best teams usually were able to figure out a way to pull it out in the end.
I don't really know if it's about the team being that much better. I think teams now they reach a point where, okay, we're down 2 scores in the third quarter. You know, if we're not feeling it, we don't think we can come back. Let's just pack it up. Let's just start running basic stuff. Let's get everybody out of here. Let's try not to get hurt. I think there's a little bit of that as much as, oh, these teams are so much better. Because, I mean, you look at a team like Carolina that has blown out teams and then been blown out by teams. And so, you know, it's just it's a weird thing. It's just weird. By the way, this is Outdrank the Coverage. That is intern Noe, the pro, the commissioner. I am Terry, the host. Look at our scary font. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I was supposed to do this because we're sad. My bad. Here we go. This is the Cowboys right now. That's how we feel right now. It's actually, we knew this was going to happen. You and I, we've already called it. And I'm not even saying this as we're smart. Everybody's called it. They're going to finish 8-8-1. They're going to look like crap on the road offensively and maybe sneak a win here or there on the road. They're going to score a lot on offense and just hope that the defense can make 1 or 2 play. This game was exactly how I thought it was going to go.
Score-wise, yeah, I knew Denver was going to win by more than 1 score, but I didn't really think that the rookies would be the ones that were being showcased. Like your old boy from UT, Jahdae Barron, got his first interception. RJ Harvey got 3 touchdowns, and Pat Bryant got his first receiving touchdown in the NFL. So the Denver rookies did really well. And then Bo Nix, he threw for 4 touchdowns. He had a great game. Defense was pretty good. They got to Dak a little bit. Just kind of rattled the offense. There was just no consistency with the game plan, and there were some bright moments here and there. Javonte Williams got a couple of scores, but yeah, you and I both figured it was going to be a Denver blowout. I just didn't think the rookies would be the reason why.
Well, I think you could have put any player there. They just happened to be the ones that their numbers were called. I mean, hell, J.K. Dobbins looked good when he played, and I will say, you know, whoops, not that one.
Well, now, Noe, To be fair.
Defensively, as bad as the defense is, the secondary was absolutely depleted. I mean, we at one point had 2 corners playing as safeties. Not that it would have been that much better. I'm not saying that because it's not like Donovan Wilson has been great, but Trayvon Diggs has not been all pro level Diggs, but he's not been terrible when they've put him into a man-to-man coverage. But I'm going to go ahead and say it now. I tried to defend it. I don't know why Matt Eberflus is still on staff at this point. He is not doing, and I like him as a coach. I think he's a good defensive coordinator. Like Tony Romo said, this guy has been a defensive coordinator with many great defenses. The personnel and the coach don't match. It's time to cut bait.
Yeah, and you and I were so wrong on this. We thought Matt Eberflus was a great addition to the Cowboys staff, but I think last week was kind of fool's gold. Washington had a depleted offense. They lost 3 of their top receivers, and then Eberflus decided to he tried to change his scheme up a little bit. I think he did more man-to-man than normal. So I think people were pretty happy that he was willing to change his defensive scheme for team success, but we saw what happened. Denver just had the line. They were very disciplined. They're very methodical on offense. Eberflus just couldn't respond.
Well, and the difference for me this year in Denver is that first drive. They throw an interception. And that last year, that was the kind of a time when Bo Nix might shut down, or Sean Payton specifically might shut Bo Nix down and get uber conservative. And you can tell now with the confidence he has in Bo Nix as a quarterback, that was just, it was just a weird, hey, and give credit to Bridges. I didn't even know who he was. The only Todd Bridges I know played on different strokes. So, I didn't know that, but he had a good play, got interception, and then he also got burned like 6 plays after, for the next 6 plays. But yeah, I think that was a play that last year Bronco might go into a shell. I'm telling you what, man, the Broncos, I truly believe are a team that might be playing in an AFC title game. And people can point, well, what about last week with the Giants? They beat them. At the end of the day, they beat them. It's the NFL. You're going to have days where you just start like crap against bad teams. It's how you come back. And they came back and they beat them. So I got to admit, I was very impressed with Denver.
Denver, they came off the 32 or 33-point fourth quarter against the Giants last week, and then they just scored 44 on the Cowboys. Yeah, that's 77 points right there. That's pretty impressive. They're 6-2 now. They've won 5 in a row. They lead the AFC West. They're winning different ways. They're running it. Sean Payton, like you were saying, has more confidence in Bo Nix in year 2 with him at quarterback. Bo Nix is taking more aggressive throws. It's pretty nice to see his maturation. I didn't really think he was going to get to this level this soon, but maybe there's something to say about drafting your quarterbacks a little bit older.
All right, now that we did all that, we'll, of course, talk some Cowboys here in a little while when we get to the NFL side of the show, but we just kind of like to lead off with our thoughts on the Cowboys because, well, we are a Cowboy show. But right now we're going to turn our attention to Saturday before we begin.
Before that.
Yeah, I was about to say, before we begin everything, intern Noe the Pro, how are you doing and what art thou drinking?
I'm doing well, sir. And today I am drinking bourbon, Old Fitzgerald, bottled in bond, aged 7 years, a weeded bourbon mash bill, 100 proof, so 50% alcohol.
You're getting buzzed tonight.
Well, the Cowboys lost, so I also have to do the punishment shot, and I have Fernet for this season. Just let me know when we have to do this shot. I have it poured out and ready to go. So, how are you doing, and what are you drinking?
I'm doing good, and I always torture myself so I don't need punishment shots because I am drinking Taka. It was funny. We saw something. We were watching a horror movie the other night, and they go into the liquor store, and she's looking for vodka, and she needs it like in a hurry, and she picks up Taka, and she goes, "Oh, God, no," and puts it back down, and I was just like, God damn it. Your wife was like, see, even the movies know it's bad. But you and I contend that Taka has improved their flavor over the last couple bottles. And I contend with the batch that we bought this weekend. I actually have enjoyed drinking. I don't know why. I was about to do a double shot back chase with a double shot. It's that bad, folks. The Cowboys have destroyed my soul. But anyway, here it is. Punishment drink to the Cowboys as they sucked. We knew they would.
No! Get out of here! You rotten bums! You overpaid Winnie! Vile thing!
Oh, I know what I can do.
You make my butt
No, not
sting!
that Yeah, that's all. Yeah, you suck. But what didn't suck? Ooh. Oh, Studio Wife's going to enjoy some of the bourbon you left a couple weeks ago for her hot toddy tonight.
I hope she likes it.
That's what she's been doing whenever she has like a little snarful cold. She'll do a little hot toddy with a little bit of a liqueur. So Sunday sucked all around. Not just the Cowboys. I mean, if it's a great day of games, I don't care. But I will admit, I was bored Sunday. The NFL ticket, you're going to have those. We've talked about. You're going to have out of 17 or 18 weeks, you're going to have 5 amazing, 5 okay, 2 holy crap, we weren't expecting those, and then a couple of these were just it wasn't exciting. There was a lot of big plays, I will say that, but there just wasn't a lot of fun games. Saturday, on the other hand, in college football was a phenomenal day of football. And as Studio Wife said, for the first time in our marriage, she saw all of the emotions I can have in a 4-hour period as Texas and Mississippi State. And we'll start there because this has a overarching this has an I thought it was pretty good. This has an overarching story. This isn't just about me wanting Texas to win to continue to be in somewhat of the race. It's that you and I are going down there Saturday to Austin to watch Texas versus Vanderbilt. And I just didn't want the game. I didn't want Texas to be completely out because it's just a completely different experience. I mean, we'd still have fun and all. I mean, we're going to get to go down there this week, see a top 20 team in Texas take on a top 10 team in Vandy. But before we got to get there, we got to go to I don't know what's going on with Texas. This is the most confusing year I've ever seen with them. I don't, and I've always said this when you look at comebacks. Do I want to take the last 10 minutes of the game, or do I want to take the 85% of the game where Mississippi State was once again having their way with Texas, and not just offensively, but also defensively, which is supposed to be the Texas bedrock. Texas has now struggled. This is the second game against, I'd call average to below average offenses in Florida and Mississippi State that they completely struggled in. That just blows my mind.
Yeah, they needed a furious fourth quarter comeback. Ryan Niblett had the big punt return for the touchdown to tie it up and send it into overtime.
He right now is the MVP of the Longhorns. He has the 75-yard punt return against Oklahoma that won the game for them, or at least sealed the deal for them. Against Kentucky at one point, he had 88 yards of punt return, and the offense had 88 total yards. And then this week, in the most craziest part, I mean, I felt like as soon as they were punting, as soon as he started drifting the way he did and there was no Bulldogs in the picture, in my mind I said he's at least getting them into the 30 or 40 for scoring position, and he just took it to the house in one of the best returns. And I mean, at least it's exciting, but my God, it's so frustrating.
What would you say happened to Mississippi State in the fourth quarter? Because it was 21-38 Mississippi State in the fourth quarter, and then UT goes on the run. They don't allow Mississippi State to score again. Do you think they just parked the bus on offense? They just went too conservative? Because I thought Mississippi State was actually trying to get first downs, but UT just came back. I didn't understand what happened with Mississippi State in that one quarter.
Well, as frustrating as it was for a lot of the game with what Mississippi State's offense was doing, Texas was getting back to them all game long. Like, they were hitting that quarterback all game. I think they had 7 sacks and 16 hits. It was a really weird defensive day because for a lot of the game, they'd play really well on defense, but then they were 6 of 19 on third down conversions. They hit a couple big, like 3rd and 14s. It's just, to me, are one of the biggest killers. So I don't really know as much as, like, this isn't one of those games. I know Mississippi State fans will say, oh, well, this moment or this moment. But I'm, as a Texas fan, there wasn't any big decisions made that beat Mississippi State. What beat Mississippi State, I think part of it, this is just how college football works. I mean, it's just, we see this how many times have we seen Alabama getting beat in the fourth quarter back there in their run where they were untouchable, getting beat in the fourth quarter, and then they would pull away, or they'd score 14 points in a minute and 50. I mean, I think this is one of those, as much as Arch has frustrated me, in the fourth quarter. You got to give Arch Manning credit. That dude was throwing dimes. Now, maybe the Mississippi State defense kind of let off the gas because they were getting to the quarterback a lot. The offensive line for Texas is just absolute terrible. I know they're young, but I'm starting to worry. Is this a young thing too, or is this maybe they need a little bit more development? Because I mean, we're talking we're 8 games into the season. You're not freshmen and sophomores anymore. You know, I don't know. I just chalked this up. This is just one of those crazy how the way college football go.
Both teams could throw the ball really well. You know, UT got over 350 yards passing. Ole Miss, Mississippi State got 382. Neither team could run the ball, so that really didn't help. Has the UT just been inconsistent, or not? Has it just been like a big variance between passing and rushing? Has UT just been struggling to run the ball because of the offensive lines being so young?
I think a little bit of that, but I also think Sark just gets away from running the ball at times. I think that's one of his negatives. Like against Ohio State, man, that's, you know, against a really good defensive front. You know, they came out as a team and was running the ball well. They ran. Now, they only ran for 58 yards, but they had 5-point yards a rush. And it's like, why aren't you running the ball more, especially in that game where Arch Manning is struggling? Why are you not running the ball more? Against Mississippi State, kind of the same thing. And again, the game getting away from them in that second, you know, basically that second quarter. When it was 24, and I know it was 24-14, but then it became 31-14. Then you kind of have to get away from the running game. I totally get that. But at the end of the day, I still feel like if you're going to make, you know, Archie Manning, if Archie Manning plays, we'll see. You know, it's not like the NFL where they have to be real open. I mean, they have to be a little bit, but not real open about what he can and can't do. But if you're going to help him, I don't understand why you're not running the ball more early to establish the run, to give him some space to breathe. But again, you've got to tip your hat to Arch Manning in that fourth quarter. I mean, he's nails, and it goes back to what you and I keep saying. Why are they not running more of an up-tempo style offense? Because he seems to thrive when it's just, here's the play, go run it. Let's go. That's when he thrives.
Yeah, you kind of saw, I think I brought this up on another show, but the 87 Bengals, they were kind of struggling on offense. 88, they implemented more of a high tempo, like a 2-minute drill offense for the entire game. And too much success, and no one really had done it at that time for 60 minutes. And it's since been replicated, especially by the Bills, and they called it the K-gun. Maybe they should do something similar with UT. Sarkisian is a former quarterback in college. I'm old enough to remember watching him play back in, was it the 90s?
Yeah, I remember at BYU.
Yeah, so it just seems to be more up Arch's repertoire. Like, it just seems like that's his strength, where he just can just make quick decisions, and he has a lot of weapons.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some really good players on that team. I like Parker Livingston. You and I watched him together when they were playing Florida. I know the offense didn't do well, but he made some couple of good plays. And in this game, Ryan Wingo, he had 184 yards receiving on 5 catches, a big 62-yarder.
Yes, but he also had 3 drops that probably changed the game early. Like if he, especially the 2 in the first half, where one of them he might score. So that's why, you know, Ryan Wingo was clutch at certain times, but you were seeing again, and he's young. This is his first full starting season as a wide receiver. They have the skill position. Especially wide receivers, they're not as good as they were last year with Golden, or 2 years ago with Golden and Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy, but they have that potential to be, because all these guys are real young.
It might be next year where it's their year then, to your point. It may just be, yes, sir, hand raised. That's what you've been saying.
I've said that at the beginning of this year. I said that on our college show. I've said it with me, you, and Grant. I feel like people were, you know, because it's Archie, people were shooting a little too early. I think this year was going to be a stumble year. Now, I didn't think they were going to have to kick an OT field goal to beat Kentucky and win an OT against Mississippi State and get beat by Florida, but I legitimately thought that they weren't going to win a national championship. I thought they'd make the playoffs, and they still can. If Texas wins out, they're in the playoffs. I mean, even Texas could still actually lose one more game and still be in the playoffs because you're matching up in the next 3 games against Vanderbilt, against Georgia, against Texas. You're playing 3 all top 10 teams. If you win 2 of those, you're still probably going to get into the playoffs with Texas, barring something weird doesn't happen with the bottom 5 team that's going to be the one representative, as long as that team doesn't end up having 3 or 4 losses too, and then it mucks it all up. But yeah, I've always said I felt Texas was a year ahead. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about next weekend, because this is going to be awesome. When you're a kid, you'd have a friend and you might stay too many nights with them in a row. We might have that, because on Friday night, you and I are going down to Austin. We're going down there with my dad and a family friend. We're going to go to – me and you're going to go to a high school game Friday night. Might go down to 6th Street, or actually not 6th Street. That's the cliche. You go 2 streets over. It's still pretty cool. And then we're going to get up Saturday morning. We're going to go to the Longhorn game at 11. We don't know if we're going to stay the night. We already got our room in case we want to, but we might just drive up. But either way, Sunday we're doing Red Zone Hangout at your place. Studio wife's going to cook for us. And then Monday, we're doing Monday night, again, another happy hour for Monday night. A scheduling note, that one's going to be late because we're going to watch the Cowboy game. So we might be, by Tuesday, we might be like, I don't want to talk to you ever again, because we're going to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, and this will be the first time you and I just go together on a road trip. So that'll be pretty interesting. We've known each other about 15 years, never done it before.
15 years. We've been out to Abilene. We've been out to Corpus twice. We went to Galveston once. We've been down to San Antonio, Austin once. Yeah, we were always with other people. So do we just start making out immediately, or do we have to confuse? Hey, I'll tell you something that's not confusing, and that's that the Texas A&M Aggies are one of the best teams in the damn nation, as they walk into LSU and say, hey, Brian Kelly, go take your $53 million and get the hell out of here. We'll talk about that in a minute, as A&M not only beats number 20 LSU at night at Death Valley, supposed to not be able to happen. They absolutely dominated them. As you said on text during the game, this wasn't just a win. They went into LSU and they just out-physicaled an LSU Tiger team that's supposed to be very physical.
Yeah, I already knew they had the talent on offense, but Marcel Reed had a couple mistakes. Well, one mistake and the other was just a tip. He had a couple bad plays in the first half. Typically, A&M would just fold. I keep comparing A&M to the A&M I used to know. This is not that same A&M team. That same A&M team years past would have went into Notre Dame and got beat by 3 touchdowns. Same one would have lost to LSU by double digits. This team, they go for blood. That Casey Concepcion, he has blazing speed. Craver is so quick. That offensive line, that's the one consistent thing. Their offensive line is really good. And Reed, I'm not going to crown him. I already have my crown on Fernando Mendoza at Indiana as a Heisman Trophy. But Marcel Reed is playing amazing. And that UT defense, in the second half, they were just turning it up a notch. They were lighting up LSU's offense.
Can I ask you something? By the way, I thought my studio dad's in the show, and he's talking about a free Beach Boys concert after the game. I thought he was joking, but I guess there really is a free Beach Boys concert after the game. We might let you and Mr. Jim go watch that. I don't know if me and Noe are the Beach Boy, but anyway. Let me ask you something real quick. We're going to bounce around because it's just me and you on the college. So let's go ahead and do the Heisman favorites right now. All right? Let's go ahead and have you venomize and poison these players going forward. I think Marcel Reed is definitely playing his way into it. But what about, as much as this guy has such a cult classic following and is loved, and he's playing for the underdog, when does Diego Pavia start getting Heisman talk? I mean, this dude he's leading the number 10 Vanderbilt. If they were to come in and beat Texas after beating Missouri, you've got to put him up there somewhere.
You do have to, and he's one of my favorite players to watch. He's just so unique, and he talks trash as a quarterback at Vanderbilt, which is like the Stanford of the East Coast. It's just crazy to me that someone like him is just leading Vanderbilt to a number. Well, now they're number 9. They were number 10 over this past weekend. My thing with him is, I guess I have to do it week by week because he didn't really have the best of games against Missouri. Missouri is a really good team, and he didn't really have the best of games. The defense bailed them out, especially on that Hail Mary attempt that got stopped at the 1. Pavia is still great. Don't get me wrong. I still think he's one of the best playmakers in college football. It's just if he closes out, maybe has only one more loss to close out the season, he should definitely be in the top 4 for sure.
I guess I thought we lived in an era where it's not always about stats for quarterbacks; it's about wins. Dadgummit.
He's a great leader. He makes that team way better with him in there than not. So I mean, I'll give him that. But right now, for me, if I have to crown someone as a Heisman Trophy favorite, Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. They hosted UCLA, who had just won 3 straight games. They kind of figured out their defense, and they're going into Indiana with some momentum, and then Indiana just beats them up by 50 points.
I mean,
it's so. I mean, I know it's more of a team thing, but Mendoza is just lights out right now.
Oh no! What I was about to say though, I think also we all bought, not all, because I don't think you and I ever really talked about it. I think everybody kind of bought into maybe UCLA is really secretly better than we think, and it's been it's Deshaun Foster, and by the way, by reports, seems like a nice guy. He just didn't know how to coach. I don't think people understand when it comes to true head coaching. It's not about what you say at halftime or what you say in the pregame or the message you send. It's honestly, a lot of times do you do a good job of keeping the team focused in practice, going from station to station, going from quarter to quarter or period to period, however you want to call it. Different schools call how they run their practice different. And it's real easy if you're not a particular person on time and stuff. It's real easy to struggle with that. And I think that's where he struggled. Timekeeping, keeping things on schedule, people understanding the flow of the program. And I think maybe we all bought in a little bit too much of, maybe it's different now. Okay, but I want to go back to, so Fernando Mendoza, your favorite, has thrown for 1,900 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Let me look at his rushing. I don't know if he's a big rusher guy. Let's see.
He has really good size. I'm not sure if he's much of a rusher though.
No, I mean he's ran for like 26 yards, 31 yards. He has 1 touchdown. All right.
So probably like key 3rd and 4. Like there's not many design runs for him probably.
Exactly. So in that game last week against UCLA, he was 15 to 22, 168 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Diego Pavia on the year has 1,698 yards through the air, 15 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions, but he is one that rushes the ball, as on the year he has. Hang on. On the year, he has 458 yards rushing and 5 more touchdowns. So I don't understand why. I'm not arguing with you personally, but I don't understand how Fernando Mendoza is so much. He's a definite Heisman favorite when him and Diego have not roughly the same passing stuff, but Diego's rushing yards to me add to it to make him, if not at the same level, maybe even slightly ahead.
I do like the fact that you added rushing yards, because you and I had talked about this on the pro level for running backs that are good pass catching running backs like Christian McCaffrey is for the 49ers. You kind of have to change it from rushing yards to just total yards in general, because you're kind of limiting players like McCaffrey, who might get 63 yards rushing, but will get 85 yards receiving and be a game changer out of the backfield in that sense. Same thing with quarterbacks that can run really well. So like Pavia for sure. For me, what puts Mendoza over Pavia is the fact that Indiana went into Eugene and beat a very good Oregon team, a team that'll make the playoffs, a team that'll be a hard out. And Indiana went into hostile environments, a team that has no history of actually being able to do something like this and beating a really good really good Oregon team. So right now, as of this week, now Pavia will have opportunities to close out the season, like this Saturday in Austin. But for right now, I'm going to go with Mendoza.
I have no problem with that. I think this is the year that I think might get me back into the Heisman, because it's so wide open this year. Because I still think Tyler Sampson of Alabama. Like, I know that they struggled a little bit and they kind of had to do a Texas and pull one out. But again, that's the magic of a great team. And I'm not saying Texas is a great team, but I'm saying that's what great teams do. You go look at Texas when they won the national championship. They had to pull the game out against Ohio State. But people also forget at the A&M game, the last game of the year, many people felt is what lost Vince Young the Heisman is A&M mucked it up, and Texas had to kind of just fight it out and grind away a win. That's part of the season. I still contend right now, on this date, 10/27/2025, I think Alabama's the best team in college football.
Oh man, that's a hot topic. Okay, that's another good question. Now, you think Alabama is? I think they're the most resilient out of what I would say a 4-team race to the championship as of right now. And I think the pollsters have it right. The top 4 teams in most polls are probably my top 4 teams: Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama. Ohio State has by far the best defense.
Yeah,
Amazing defense. I love defense. I love defense and running. I'm old school dude. I love that. And I love how Ohio State plays defense. I love the Cinderella story become beast that is Indiana, because they're going to be a tough out for anybody. I love the fact that A&M is destroying all their old stereotypes. They look very legit. They're very fast. They're very physical. Even if they have mistakes, they can overcome them, and that's the sign of a really elite team. And then there's Alabama, who has the history, the pedigree, embattled coach who somehow finds a way to win. Lenora Sellers had one of his better games this season, a key fumble late in the game, loses it for South. Yeah, I hate that because he had a really great game, and he'll probably be one of the high draft picks next season. He has the size, he has the arm, he has the speed. We're talking about South Carolina, by the way.
Yeah.
They almost beat Alabama, but then Sellers fumbled the ball. Alabama took it, scored a touchdown. They win 29-22. That's kind of been their story this season. They've had some big wins, one at Georgia, one at Missouri. So they are the toughest out, I would say. Indiana is they just look so good right now. I'm going to go ahead and say A&M is the best team in college football overall.
I have no problem, especially again with how they went into LSU and did what they did. Speaking of, look, I am not a Brian Kelly fan.
Terry, tell me how bad that loss was for LSU.
How bad was it?
They fired their coach and they fired their offensive coordinator.
They not only fired their coach, they agreed to give him $53 million. Look, I don't like Brian Kelly. He's just one of those that just doesn't seem happy in life. Like he's always, and he just But I think they overreacted a gazillion times when you look at LSU on the year. And let's see, they are overall right now, they're 2-3 in conference, 5-3 overall. Oh my God, that sounds terrible. Yeah, sure it is. All 3 of their losses are to top 10 teams. I'm sorry. That's overreaction Monday right there, or Sundays when it came out. Now, again, I understand part of that is probably because of Brian Kelly's personality. The hire never made sense to me anyway. Like, he just never fit, even when he tried his best with his little fake accent. He never fit in like LSU, man. You gotta either be like Nick Saban and is able to shut all that out, or you got to be Ed and accept it and just live the Baton Rouge life, because it's basically you can be down in New Orleans in 45 minutes there, as we learned Ed in his last couple of years seemed to go down to New Orleans more on Thursday nights. But I just think this was an overreaction.
Was this a bigger overreaction than James Franklin getting fired at Penn State this season?
No, because everybody around, and maybe LSU will do this too, and if it does, then I'll stand corrected. But people in Penn State who like Franklin said this was just one of those where the pressure of what they haven't done had gotten so big that it was just going to be really, really hard for him to recover that. Again, people like to compare him and Mac Brown at Texas, and there's a lot of validity to that, except for Texas was still beating really good other teams. It was just Oklahoma that was their bugaboo. They were beating good A&M teams at that time. They were beating good Oklahoma State teams at that time. They would beat a couple good non-con teams. But what always worked for Mac Brown was the locker room never felt that pressure. He did a great job of shielding that. And I'm not saying James Franklin didn't try to shield it, but apparently it had started getting into the locker room. And it just, his losses were getting progressively worse because they were losing to bad teams. LSU was losing to good teams and really good teams. In fact, I mean, there's a good chance all 3 of them will be playing in the playoffs. And so and again, I don't like Brian Kelly. I'm the side of me that likes LSU because I grew up as an LSU fan. I mean, again, I grew up as Texas #1, but I never hated schools. Just like in the NFL, I don't hate other teams. I want my team to win, but I also like other teams. And living where we lived and family and all, LSU was always always on TV, and I always enjoyed watching. In fact, some of my favorite college basketball teams of all time were the Dale Browns, Shaquille O'Neal, Stanley Roberts, Chris Jackson teams. That I love Dale Brown, but my God, how did you not at least get to a Final Four with those? I will never understand. But I just feel like LSU overreacted, and now they're $53 million to him, trying to do Neal, and now they've got to try to find a coach that's gonna want a lot of money. I mean, LSU's not a Texas, or LSU's not like an A&M that can just have that much Neal and boost their money. So I don't know what they're gonna do. I will admit, James Franklin seems kind of good at LSU. I mean, that seems like another guy, but now they might not want to do that. They might consider him an outsider, but I'd say, well, look what he did with Vandy. So he has the SEC roots.
Yeah, he has the SEC roots. He can recruit well. And the fact that he's attaching his name to LSU makes it a lot easier for him to recruit. It's a big-time school. He did well at Vanderbilt, like you said. He did well at Penn State. His issue was just winning big games. This is the same Penn State team that made it to the Final Four of college football playoffs last season. They had an easier route than most, but they still made it to the Final Four. So it's not like Franklin's far off. It is basically Ohio State's head coach. He was basically in the same boat until he won a championship last season. So now he's won a championship. The pressure is kind of off of him. So I think James Franklin would be a good hire for LSU. I'm not sure who their next coach is going to be. I really liked Ed Orgeron as head coach for LSU. He just seemed like the most perfect fit just because of his accent and his personality in general. But there was a lot of expectation going into this season. Garrett Nussmeier was a Heisman Trophy favorite, or one of the top. Him and Lenora Sellers, they both kind of.
And Archie Manning, that was your three, right?
Archie, yeah, those are three, and they all kind of.
Go ahead.
They all kind of underperformed, whether it was their fault or not.
Well, all three of them underperformed because all three of their offensive linemen have not been as good as what everybody thought they was. Sellers got hurt.
It's a team sport. It's the ultimate team sport. I'm sorry. I know we'd like to just focus on the quarterback because I will admit that is the most important position, but it's a team sport. And I'll carry this conversation over into the pros, where if you're going to pay someone that money, like in this example, Neal, you got to be able to field a team around them that's good enough. Someone that can actually protect the quarterback, receivers that can catch the ball, running backs that can create balance on the offense.
Sorry, my bad. Nope. I never remember where this one is.
Well, now
Oh, there it is.
To be fair,
LSU, Texas, and South Carolina, all three felt they had the players around there. Nobody felt that there was an offensive line issue at Texas and South Carolina and LSU. They all had young offensive linemen, but with the recent history of what these programs have done line-wide, and South Carolina was more, we all were more like, if Sellers can ball out like he did last year. And unfortunately, he got hurt, and then he just hasn't been the same all year. I'm like you. He's going to be one of those that, and I don't mean like Anthony Richardson. I think Sellers has a legitimate chance in the NFL. I do think he's a little bit of a project, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be, or at least in my mind, just watching what I've seen of him, I think he's a little bit more accurate, a little bit more of a true quarterback. But, this isn't like these teams thought that they didn't pay the quarterback and then not have everything around them. It's just everything around them hasn't been as good as we thought they were going to be.
Yeah, and in football, you still need a complete team. Even Patrick Mahomes needs a complete team. Penn State, going into the season, Drew Aller, the quarterback, who's out for the year now, they were considered the most complete team going into the season. They had, like I said, the Final Four appearance last season, best running back duo in the country. Defense was great. There was a lot of expectations going into Penn State. So them and LSU, South Carolina, Texas, all kind of didn't meet the expectations so far through week 9 of the season. Penn State's basically done. South Carolina's done. LSU's, they can still salvage and make it a good season. UT still has a chance to make it to the playoffs. So season's not over. You can still finish strong. And LSU, they're basically auditioning for the next head coach. I'm not sure who that's going to be. Maybe it's Franklin, like you were saying, or it could be someone else that we're not even considering. Maybe someone on the pro level. It's a great job. It's a lot of pressure, but you're going to get talent. You have an incredible home field advantage. Don't think about what happened Saturday against A&M.
Yeah.
That is a very hostile environment.
Yeah, again, one of the biggest issues I think for them, and it's the same thing with like Oklahoma, is that those schools, when there was not Neil, they have big money. But when you start talking about paying, because again, we're not talking about just paying football, especially LSU, where they have an amazing girls basketball program, and they have an amazing baseball program, and they have amazing track, and they have an amazing dive, swim, and you've got to pay everybody. And so LSU is one of those that doesn't have the pockets that a lot of other schools have. I trying to think pro wise. I mean, maybe a coordinator. I kind of think the dark horse in that one that nobody's thinking of would be like a Lane Kiffin. Like swing for the fence, Lane Kiffin.
He would be a great hire for anybody, even at the pro level, in my opinion now. I think he's more ready now to be at the pro level.
No, I'm in at college, LSU.
I know what I'm saying. I think Lane Kiffin, if he leaves Ole Miss, it's to go to the pros.
Oh, I don't think he'll ever go pro again. I think he got way too burnt out by that. He's talked about many times about like, the cynical side of football is the NFL, and it is. It really is. And I know
think about where he coached though.
Well, he has talked about it in length about like he just it left, and yeah, you're right, but I mean I don't think it matters where it's still. He was just talking about the day to day, like it's the thing I always notice whenever you listen to anybody that's a fringe NFL player that goes into camps and they're on practice squads, and you hear about it, like, I know this, people that watch the game hate to hear this, but even for the guys that want to win, it's a job to them. That they're there to clock in, do their work, and go home. You don't have a lot of that rah. Even Jimmy, like I don't think Jimmy Johnson would play well in today's world. We're in such a cynical world, whether it be sports, politics, life. I don't even think someone like Jimmy Johnson could work in the pros anymore. And I think Lane Kiffin understands. I like Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. I don't want him to leave, but I could see LSU taking that. Or I know this sounds crazy, and I know his comments, and I know he's old, but I could see LSU swinging for the fences about, hey, come on, Nick, let's run it back one more time. You won one here before. He's always been the one though that they don't disown, but like Ed is theirs. He's a true raging Cajun red ass. Les Miles was weird enough to be theirs, even though hey, he ate the grass. Nick's the one that they always kind of disassociated with, but just because he came from Michigan State, you didn't know where he was going to end up being, at Alabama and everything. I love college coaching hires because there can be no rhyme or reason to it. Rohan Davey, remember that name?
Yeah.
Former LSU quarterback. Yeah. Someone like him could knock the charms off of them in the boosters, and they're like, screw it, let's hire this guy who has no college. And I'm not saying, I just was trying to think of a random name, like Deshaun Foster for UCLA. Like, I thought that was going to be a solid hire. I always think the former alumni, even though there are decades and decades of proving, don't go back home, it never works again.
I always think about Eric Bieniemy as well, because he was at such a high level with the Chiefs as an offensive coordinator, and then ever since he left the Chiefs, he went to the Commanders, and then he went to UCLA. He's kind of just been downgrading ever since he left Kansas City. I wonder if he'll ever get a head coaching opportunity or not.
I mean, I think he might at a small school. Look, I like him, but I think because of the recent history, and this isn't a knock on him, it was Andy Reid, being a lot of that influence. Even if Eric Bieniemy was calling the calls in one of those Super Bowl years, I mean, it's like, yeah, sure you were. Like, Eric's, all right, we're going to run slot left, right T, screen flash, and Andy goes, you sure you don't want to run that with a 50? All right, let's run it with a 50. And then, Eric gets the credit. I like Eric, and I want him to succeed. He's one of my favorite running backs in college because people don't remember how fun Colorado was in that era. With Eric Bieniemy, Rashaan Salam, rest in peace. I always forget he dies until it pops up every year, on this date. And I'm like, oh, damn, he died. And he died tragically, too, on a freaking freezing to death on a bench in Denver. But anyway, I've always wanted him to get a job. But yeah, I think maybe he could get like a small college, like a historically black college, a Grambling, something like that, and maybe work his way up. But I feel like his time's kind of come.
Yeah, and he's in his early 50s now, so I'm kind of hoping he gets something soon so he can build up and maybe become a head coach at some bigger college or maybe even the pros by 60.
And nowadays, man, 60, you're too old to coach.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bruce Arians was like a rare exception just because what he did in that almost full season with the Colts that 1 year.
Hey, I want to talk about this. North Texas, man. It'd have been really, really easy after South Florida kind of pushed it in on them in that second half to just go back to, hey, that was a fun start. We're just going to go back to what we are. But here they are now, 7-1, as they beat Charlotte 54 to 20. Drew Mestemaker throws for a school record 608 yards. I mean, they're still in that. It's going to be a hard fight. They need things to happen above them. But North Texas is still in the chance to be the bottom 5. They really need to come up with a different name for that. The bottom 5 representative in the playoffs. And I want to say this. A lot of things is being made about Mestemaker. You know, he didn't start in high school and all that. You know, he did start. He played safety and he punted. He didn't start at quarterback. And some people are like, oh, that coach must have been terrible. Well, no, that team won state with a quarterback that was better. That's the only reason why. And it just goes to show you that, you know, especially a 6A school in Texas, they can have multiple quarterbacks that are great, and you got to play one. You just can't play everybody. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. TCU with a really good win. Look at Rice at 4-4. Quentin Jackson rolls for 4 touchdowns, including the OT game winner. As man, that was one of those games you just kept waiting for Rice to fall because they would get, you know, UConn would jump and then Rice would answer back, and then UConn would answer back, and you going, oh man, Rice is just going to, you know, run out of time. But even in shootouts, you always have that one defensive stand. Rice got that in the fourth quarter. They tied the game up, and then they won. And then I think the other biggest Texas game was Houston. Man, beating Arizona State 24-16. Connor Weigman, 3 touchdowns. You and I were talking about, I think this is Houston's biggest win in maybe 10 years.
Yeah, they went into Tempe is a very tough place to play. Arizona State was ranked. They were 5-2 going into it. Sam Levitt was healthy. He ended up getting hurt again during this game. But Houston, a team that just saw the team that beat the crap out of them weeks ago, Texas Tech, lose in Arizona State. They go in there and they beat them by 8 points, 24-16. So Houston's 7-1. They're ranked again. I don't know if they were ranked. No, they actually weren't ranked this season. This is the first time they're ranked. They're ranked number 22. They're 7-1. They have a favorable matchup next week, hosting West Virginia. They could go 8-1. This could end up being a pretty special year for Houston. They do have that one bad loss at home to Texas Tech. It was a blowout, but hey, this is a huge win for Houston. Great win for the Cougars.
All right, we're going to do something we don't really do much on this show, and that's because I started drinking the Gatorade a little early. We're going to take a quick break because I got to go, as they say in the classic movie, drain the main vein. It's football season, and that means it's bug season. Heck, who am I kidding? It's always bug season in Texas, and that's why you need Grandeur Pest Solutions in your corner. They're locally owned and operated. They're trained, they're trustworthy, and they have a proven record as they have been in business for almost 10 years. They provide pest control against ants, bed bugs, bees, roaches, fleas, wasps, mosquitoes, rodents, spiders. If it crawls and you don't like it, they're probably going to take care of it for you. Now, they serve all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they're locally owned. These 2 guys have been running this business since 2013, and every year they get bigger and bigger. But you know what they still do? They still have great customer service. In fact, if you get a hold of them, they're usually going to have your quote and your job ready to go within 48 hours. That's pretty good. Now, you can call them for a free estimate at 469-809-1769. You can find them online at Grandeur4, that's the number 4, shore.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Grandeur Pet Solutions, and we are all right. We are back. Sorry about that. I had to go TT.
Nice Roadhouse reference before the commercial break.
Heck yeah. Let's see. Texas Tech bounced back. They destroy Oklahoma State 42-7. Jacoby Williams out of Beckville, Texas, had 2 touchdowns, including an exciting 99-yard touchdown. SMU got beat, kind of ends any chance they had of backdooring their way into the ACC title game. Good. This is a good SMU program. All their losses have been competitive losses against solid teams. Wake Forest outlasted them 13-12 as Connor Calvert hits a game-winning field goal. Wake Forest, I'm sorry, has the best mascot, the Demon Deacons. I really wish East Texas Baptist would have had the balls to name themselves the East Texas Baptist Demon Deacons. That would have been beautiful. But anyway, let's see. Nationally, we already talked about Alabama. Ole Miss outlast Oklahoma 34-26. I think we're learning that maybe the John Mateer stuff was a little early. I still contend that Texas game, his hand was not the reason he because he's just throwing everything up. His problem is, and he can. I'm not saying he can't control this. He's a young quarterback. His problem is he's still in that because he had success against some lesser teams, running around and throwing off his back foot. He thinks he can do it against the SEC Division I defenses, and you really can't.
And on the opposite side, Trinidad Chambliss, I should also throw him into the Heisman Trophy bucket. I mean, the quarterback for Ole Miss had a really good game. Going back to what you said about Lane Kiffin, I want to give him credit. Post-game interview, half the time he was talking, he praised a lot of the Oklahoma defenders and how great they are and how they're going to be really good at the next level. So to his credit, it seems like he's at peace now at Ole Miss. I think the fans like him. He's in great shape now. They're doing well. They're recruiting well. Their uniforms are so beautiful. I don't like the rebel flag, but I like the uniforms are great. But
I love the uniforms. Speaking of,
go ahead.
No, just because we know Mario's in this chat, and he's I guess former Houston Oilers fan that became a Tennessee fan. Is that how that worked? I don't remember the story. I know we talked about it the other day.
We feel sorry for you regardless.
Yeah, either way, man. Well, I mean, you did get the 1 yard lose a Super Bowl, and you also got 7-9, 9-7 for years, and he also ruined a generational quarterback. But I digress. You and I believe that if the Houston Texans wanted to salvage their luck, and they can't go to the straight Houston Oiler blue, go with the Ole Miss blue. Blue, red, and I mean the baby, the light blue, not the dark blue. Even though the Ole Miss dark blue has always looked good as well. Like that, I've always thought Ole Miss was one of those that always looked good. When the Eli Manning years, when they did the dark blue, well, they look like the Giants, but a little bit darker. But if the Houston Texans would take the Ole Miss palette and use that, that completely changed my view on their uniforms. And of course, we'll be talking about uniforms here in a little bit on the NFL. I just wanted to bring that up. I also want to bring up, I thought what Lane, the maturation of Lane Kiffin was him talking to his players about these rumors about him going to Florida and stuff. And he talked about a few years ago when he didn't talk to the team, and that was that year they kind of collapsed within. He felt that him not addressing it made them think he was gone, he was gone. So he just basically said, look, guys, this is what happens when you're good. People want you. They want me. At the end of the year, they're going to want second string guys because they're going to be like, well, hey, if he was second string on an Ole Miss team that went to the playoffs, then we want to bring him in as a starter. So I thought he did a really good job of facing that out in the front and bringing it to his players and talking to it. And I want to then switch that over to, I think Steve Sarkisian did the exact same thing with the rumors that broke out Saturday before the Longhorn game and this is from The Athletic, Yahoo Sports, ESPN. I mean, this wasn't people making it up. I mean, I don't know if the information's bad or not, but rumors were that he'd reached out, or his agents had reached out to Tennessee to let them know, Tennessee Titans, to let them know he would be up for interviewing for their head coaching job. And he immediately categorically denied it. And you say, well, people deny it all the time. Yeah, but we've seen the Nick Saban. Are you going to go back to college? I don't know why. Well, you would ask me that. No, he just said, no, I have not said this. Now, again, he could be lying out his ass. But I do think the way he just nipped it in the bud, I think to me is so much better than coaches that do try to dance around it or just don't bring it up and they just ignore it.
Yeah, because those coaches you really can't trust. And nor will you ever trust them going forward. So to that point, I agree. I'm glad he addressed it early. And if publications like The Athletic and ESPN are saying Sarkisian to the Tennessee Titans, not Volunteers, then there has to be something to it. So I'm glad. I hope Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss. I hope Sark stays at UT. I think both coaches are building great programs that can last long, especially in the tough conference that is the SEC. With the expansion to 12 teams in the playoffs, I think there's room for all to make it. There's be at least 4 or 5 SEC teams that will probably make it, about 4 or 5 Big Ten teams.
Well, especially with my theory that's going to happen, and we're starting to see it start to happen. SEC and the Big Ten are going to break off and form their own college league, and it's going to be more like the NFL. And you're going to have like the SEC's the NFC, the Big Ten's the AFC. I think they also could, because you could do this at the college level because schedules rotate and change so much. I do think there's a possibility they could have a relegation style system with the other half of college football. Like you maybe have a playoff so the way everybody always says when relegation, it's the bottom 2 teams that go down. Yes, from the Premier League, but from the Champions League, that's weirdly what the English call their second level league. It's weird. They actually have a playoff. It's not just where your first two teams go, but you have a playoff. I think it's from 1 to 4. Or maybe 1 to 5, and they kind of have a playoff. I think about how awesome that would be. So every year you have the bottom team from one bottom team from the Big Ten, one bottom team from the SEC in this they go down, and then at the what we call the bottom 5 now, the non-power 5, it would be a lot more now because it would be the ACC. It'd be all of them. They would have a playoff system where not only you won a national championship for that level, but you also went up into the next league.
Yeah, I think change is going to take time. I love that idea. I just don't see it happening anytime soon, but it's great. It took us this long to get to 12 teams. Just the concept of a playoff system was just shunned and vilified for years. But I think it'll eventually happen, what you're saying, just a Super League, a Premier League, which is just 2 big conferences. And I wouldn't mind that. I mean, the SEC already has 16 teams. That is essentially one conference in the NFL.
And what the Big Ten now has, 14?
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close to the 16 that we would need for the 32.
Pull 2 more from the ACC, a Florida State, a Miami. There you go. I mean, that was right there, would work perfectly. 2 teams that are always kind of on the cusp. Or Clemson, again, that's why I think a relegation would have to be in some play to keep these schools like a Clemson that feels like they could compete consistently up at that, that level, allow them that entry into it. And I think you just think about that. You got, Monday night, we've got the national championship game, Texas versus Alabama or, Ohio State. And then Tuesday night, we've got the bottom 5 champion moves on, Clemson versus Miami. And think about how both of those games would get bazillion views because you get to see a champion and a team that's moving up. I think that'd be really, really fun.
Viewers flock to games that have stakes. So, yeah, I love it.
All right, let's talk about next week's matchups. We're going to be at 1. We're excited. Number 9, Vanderbilt, 7-1, going to Austin to take on number 20, Texas. And a team that over the last 15 years has done a really, really good job of revitalizing what it means to play in Texas. As a fan that's going, I like that it's at 11 a.m. I do wish, though, it was at a 2:30 start because, 11 a.m.'s you're actually playing Vanderbilt's normal time in Texas while they play 11 a.m. games. I just felt like this would be a better 2:30 game. Look, I'm a Texas fan. I'm not hiding that. I'm calling it, though. I think Texas pulls the upset off. I think they beat Vanderbilt. And if that pass rush is playing as good as it's been over the last 3 games, I think they might end up even beating Vanderbilt by a couple touchdowns.
I don't know how to call this game because Vanderbilt's in uncharted territory.
And that can be good or bad.
That could be good or bad. I'm not sure who the starting quarterback is going to be for Saturday morning. Arch Manning did suffer concussion in overtime against Mississippi State in the win. Matthew Caldwell threw the game-winning touchdown.
Let's talk about that. First off, when I saw it, I thought it was a catch, but I'm like, I'm a Texas fan. You know, even though I feel like you and I are we can see the good and the bad of our teams in the moment. That's a catch. And then they kept showing. I'm like, no, wait, that's actually really a catch, because I think a lot of people don't understand the rule. You don't have to bring the ball to your chest to be a catch. As long as it's in your hands and it doesn't move around while you hit the ground, it's a catch. And he kept the whole time that it stuck. And I'm not saying Archer can't make that move or that throw because he can, but my God, that for a guy that was his one throw of the damn game. One throw, touchdown for 10 yards. I'm not really that worried if Caldwell has to get some steps. Now, he was, I think he played at UConn or somewhere last year. He's a transfer in, but I'm not afraid with him, because the thing I feel like Sark, I think sometimes his system is better with a no-name quarterback that's just feeding the ball, so Sark doesn't have to feel the need to call quarterback plays. He can just call things that work for the team.
Matthew Caldwell played at Troy last season.
Boy, I knew it was somewhere not in the Texas area.
And then before that, he played 2 years at Gardner Webb.
You know that power Gardner Webb.
Yeah.
And then Diego played at New Mexico State or New Mexico. You think it's hard to win at Vanderbilt? Well, by the way, they're actually the New Mexico they play at still solid, but that's a program that's really hard. Man, I can remember when I used to go out to New Mexico, they would give you free tickets. And I don't mean free tickets up like you can get the free tickets and go sit at the 50-yard line. We did that a couple times back when I was going out to New Mexico back in the day. Went and saw New Mexico State. And this is in the New Mexico State, New Mexico, their blood rival. Hey, we got free tickets. Hey, would you just go sit at the 50? Because that's what they'd say. If you're gonna come in, please go sit down to bomb so that the cameras make the stadium look fuller than it was.
I don't have a favorite college team, but I just love watching football in general. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Vanderbilt's gonna win. I'm gonna say 24-13.
All right, well, that's going to do it for Internet Noe's time on the show. We do appreciate that. By the way, email me if you'd like to co-host Outdrink. No, I totally get it. I think this is going to be a fun game either way. I will say the last 2 Texas games I've been to, I am 0-2, oddly enough, weirdly. Me and Grant went out and saw them play Texas Tech in 2023. They dominated the first half. Bijan Robinson went off, and then Texas Tech scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to come back and beat. That's when Ric Flair started whoring himself out to every college to do the woo, woo. And so he was actually there that day, though. Speaking
He's
of,
probably running out of money.
Well, speaking of, I saw him. He's on the Julian Edelman podcast. Oh, that's a terrible podcast. I like Julian Edelman, but he does no research, and he's trying to do the Joe Rogan of, I'm just going to ask you and you tell me, but it just doesn't come off good. But anyway, Ric Flair's there, and they have him to where he's having to be propped up and the mic like right here, and he's talking like this the whole time. Like I don't think Rick's got long for the world. I'm just saying.
He survived heart attacks, surgery. The guy's, 76-ish? He's born in 49, so yes, he'll be 76 this year. And I know our show's called Outdrink the Coverage, and we're drinking, but his binge drinking was legendarily awful.
He also would top the binge drinking with the 7 lines of cocaine, 10 Toradol's, 5 Vicodins, and a Paratridge and a Paratree, whatever how that song goes. All right, is the college in the books? Are we ready to flip over to the college?
Well, let's see here.
Anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I don't trust anything you say about college if you're going to choose Vandy over Texas, so you can go.
Texas Tech goes to play at Kansas State in Manhattan, a team that was 2-4. They won 2 in a row. They're looking more impressive. That could be an upset potential. I think Texas Tech will win, but it'll be a 1-score game.
Time thing. Again, you put that game at 11 a.m., I think Kansas State pulls the upset off. People don't understand just how different that is for college kids. It being at 2:30, I think Texas Tech will win, but, Kansas State, they always muck it up. Oh, hey, if SMU wants to throw any Hail Mary of getting back in, they've got to beat Miami, and they probably would have to beat them by a couple touches. I do want to go back up. I forgot one thing, though. So we were talking about North Texas. So the best thing that could happen for South Florida or for North Texas happened. Memphis upset South Florida 34-31. Memphis is now 7-1, and I think UNT and them still have to play each other.
I think so too. I'm just saying that North Texas also has a good matchup this weekend against one of the few remaining undefeated teams in Navy. Navy comes to Denton. They're 7-0. North Texas is 7-1. It's a pretty big matchup in Denton.
Well, I guess they already played.
Memphis and North Texas? They haven't played.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Memphis lost to another team, but yeah, Navy, North Texas, and Denton. I think that'll be great for North Texas to push their bid to get to the playoffs.
I didn't realize. I guess I guess I never realized how big the AAC is. I guess they don't play each other every year. So they don't play each other. That's gonna muck things up because you've got Navy and Tulane right now 5-0, 3-0. Memphis 3-1, South Florida 3-1, North Texas 3-1, Temple 3-1, East Carolina at 2-1. Now I think you can draw the line after North Texas that it's Navy, Tulane, Memphis, South Florida, North Texas. North Texas for the rest of the year, they have Navy, as you said, UAB, Rice, and then Temple.
How do you think they finish?
Oh, I think they can run the table. I think they could eat. Easy, but yeah, really, this is their toughest test. I don't trust Temple. Temple's been another one of those. It's been a kind of a fun story. They're record-wise better than we thought, but they're 5-3, 3-1. I don't think they've really played anybody yet in the AAC, which is in of itself saying anybody good in the AAC is kind of crazy. Mario brought up a good point. Vandy's biggest alumni base is in Dallas. There was a time, I can't remember what it was I read. I think it might have been Sports Illustrated, and they were doing what's the best college towns, and Dallas was like number 2, and it was because 7 different colleges, their biggest alumni base was set in Dallas. Like Oklahoma's biggest has always been, it's Dallas. UT bounces back between Houston, Austin, and Dallas. A&M bounces between Houston and Dallas. Vandy's almost always Dallas because it's financial. And then there was a couple of weird ones that you're like, okay, I didn't see that one coming. But anyway, let's see. Anything else?
BYU pick 6 to seal their undefeated season so far. To me, there's 2 big matchups this weekend, and then one underrated one.
All right.
Oklahoma, number 18, at Tennessee. Josh Heupel revenge game. He's the Tennessee quarterback, or Tennessee head coach, was the Oklahoma quarterback in the 2000 season when they won the national championship.
For all the talk about it, people forget that's the last time they won a national championship.
Yeah, they've been to several since, but they have not won. So, yeah, Josh Heupel, last quarterback to win a national championship for Oklahoma. Number 17, Cincinnati. They go to Utah, number 24. That'll be a tough matchup. And then the one I'm looking forward to, because it reminds me of when I grew up, when I was younger, this could be like a 60s, a 70s, an 80s, a 90s, a 2000s matchup, and we'd be happy. Number 23, USC goes to Lincoln, Nebraska to play the 6-2 Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yeah, if we end up staying down in Austin after the game Saturday night, we're definitely going to be having drinks and watching that game. I'm excited about that one. I'm excited about the Cincinnati Utah game. This is going to be a big game for Houston and Texas Tech as the Big 12 starts to kind of shake itself down. Man, look, I don't know what they would do if you put them against all the SEC teams, against all the Big 10 teams, but I'm telling you, man, I have thoroughly enjoyed the ACC and the Big 12 this year. Inside conference play.
100% agree. It's been very entertaining to watch. This has been a fun season overall. I love the fact that there's really no clear-cut number one. I love that there's no clear-cut Heisman Trophy candidate. I love there's been upsets almost every week. This has been one of my favorite seasons.
No, I totally agree with you there. All right, it's time.
Here we go! Buck, here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go! Here we go!
It's time to talk the NFL Week 8 results. As first, tragic news as was it Saturday, I guess, or maybe early Sunday? It started breaking out that former Jets center and I think borderline Hall of Famer Van Gold passed away from kidney disease at 41 years old. He'd been diagnosed back in 2006, and I remember the article about it. Because at the time he was thinking he might have to retire. He didn't know. And then, they were able to manage it, but it was always had an expiration date. And unfortunately, he was not able to get a kidney donor. I think he had a weird blood. I can't remember all the bloods, but I think he had a weird blood, which made it harder. But man, it just really, really sucks because by all accounts, truly one of the great guys of football.
Yeah, typically you look toward your family, but none of his family members had the same blood type as him, so he was kind of struggling there. He's my age. I'm 41. He was 41 when he passed, so it's a
I'm
little.
41.
Yeah, Terry, you're 41. Anyway,
Dad is 50. My mom is 29. I'm 41.
oh, you are from East Texas, so that makes a lot of sense.
My dad, my grandpa.
He was part of the last great run, like consistent run of Jets football. They had a really good 2015 season, but from 2006 to about 2010, 2011, they were consistently a playoff team. And then for a couple of years there, they were in the AFC Championship game. They've been to the Conference Championship game more recently than the Cowboys. So
I mean, everybody has.
everybody has, yeah. And I think
Literally
the last
everybody
one was
has.
yes, I know. I think the Bears, and the
Everyone.
Jets. Yes, Terry.
31. Well, no, I'm sorry. Houston has it. Never mind. Speaking of, it's really weird how Oklahoma, Texas, and San Francisco, Dallas are kind of the same way because you get a lot of like Oklahoma. Y'all haven't won a national championship since 2005. Yeah, y'all keep going, but y'all keep losing. Same thing with the Niners. For as many times as the Niners have played in the NFC title game since 1994 and been to the Super Bowl since 1994, Dallas still has a newer Super Bowl win than the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, the 49ers, their Super Bowls were all, I think they all start with a 2. Well, a couple start with a 1, but yeah, the 18s, the 20s, the last Super Bowl 29. So yeah, it's been a while for the 49ers. They have fielded a lot more consistently really good teams. They had a pretty bad stretch in the mid 2000s, but it's.
I want to say this. I thought it was dumb for Cam Scadaboo to dress up like Dak Prescott's ankle Sunday. Did that not look exactly the same? Not the exact same play, because what made Dak's even worse is he was going to slide. If you just keep your feet up, which they basic sliding. But anyway, his was, a lot of people try to think it was a hip drop tackle. It wasn't. He engaged a player and his leg was planted in the ground. And when that happens and momentum goes on top of you, the ankle turns, it's dislocated. Hey, I contend it keeps him alive for one more year because that's 10 less concussions he's going to get in 2025. I'm just saying.
He's become everybody's favorite player. I really like him with the Giants. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air, him and Jackson Dart. Good for them. I'm not sure if Brian Daboll and Joe Sheen, head coach and GM respectively, survived this season without Scadaboo, but
I'm rooting for them. I kind of feel like maybe they've salvaged, and again, look, I think Jackson Dart is a legitimate quarterback. He was making some throws yesterday that, even though they lost, it was just like really, really impressive. You got to remember, Malik Neighbors is out too, and he's been out for a while.
I say Dart proved me wrong because I was kind of not big on him coming into the pros. He played well in games against not top 10 teams, but when he played a really good team, he tended to struggle. It just could have been the talent around him. But I've seen what he's done with the Giants. He's played in some big games. The big win in New York against Philadelphia, right up there at the top. He's fearless. So to me, his mentality's there. I think he's definitely a capable starting quarterback in a rough market. Being a New York Giants starting quarterback, it's not as bad as being a Dallas Cowboys starting quarterback, but it's pretty rough. That New York media is pretty bad, and he's thriving and he's fearless.
I like Cam. I still think he has a shelf life. I read something the other day that made a lot of sense. I know he's not quite big enough, but I would love to see Cam more like a tight end. Something to where, I mean, look, I love him. He's fun, but geez, he's going to ram his head into an early death. I mean, you can see it coming. But I think Jackson Dart is the real thing. But let's go to the most infamous, famous, most loved, most hated, most talked about segment of the show, best and worst uniforms of Week 8. And I got to tell you, man, you let me down on some of these. If you don't know, I always let Noe give me his, and we talk about them as we see them. I think that's one of the most enjoyable parts of the noon games is all of them. We're like, oh, look at this one, look at this one, look at this one.
And before you do that, I always make sure my phone is fully charged because by the time we stop talking around 2:30 when you pass out,
Nappies.
My battery will be about 45%.
I ain't gonna lie, I missed the interception by Dallas because I had napped from 2:30 to 3:30. I thought they had a 3:30 start. They actually had the 3:15 start, so I missed the first 15 minutes. So for the half of the game, I was like, it was halftime. Whenever Dallas is receiving the ball, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, they received the ball to begin the things. Because when I woke up and turned the game on, it was a second down right before it became third down. They kicked field goal, and so I'm like, wait a minute. And then I went back and went, what? This defense got an interception? Boy, Bo Nix must be terrible. But anyway, speaking of the Denver Dallas game earned a rare 10. Now we go 10-1, 10 being the best. Denver broke out their old school look. I still contend it's not as great as. I wonder if I can share this. Hang on. I want to see if I can share this real quick. If I can just share my. Hang on.
You and I are big fans of the old school Denver look. It just looks beautiful, especially in today's age with HD. Paired well with the Cowboys, slight overcast. It's just the contrast and colors. It's just that's part of the reason why I gave that game a 10.
All right, can you see this? Hang on. Can you see this when I flip it? Hang on.
I just see your screen and a bunch of is this your
That's my background. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Wow.
I contend this right here. This is 1980. I contend this would be a top 5 uniform game of all time. I love the Dallas blue now, but I really loved what the cursed blue, that blue that they kind of wore with the blue pants that didn't match, but somehow that made it awesome. And then out in Mile High Stadium in 1980 on a noon game, which was it's very rare for Denver to be on a noon game out there. They played the Cowboys and they wore their all whites with these blue helmets. I mean, you can't tell me that's not a beautiful screen.
Well, this season, 1980, was when the cursed blue was coined because in the 80 championship game, Philadelphia basically forced the Cowboys to wear those blue jerseys and then proceeded to just run all over the Cowboys. It wasn't like a big blowout. I think the final score was 20-7, but Montgomery just had his time with the Cowboys in that championship game. This game, it's what we expected. Again, like I told you at the start of the show, I really didn't think the rookies were going to be the reason why Denver won so easily. But Harvey, Pat Bryant, Jahdae Barron, they did well. Bo Nix, he looks more like a starting quarterback every day. That offensive line is top 5 in the NFL. That defense is okay. I'm glad we got to see some Joe Milton action in this game. He threw a touchdown to Tolbert at the end of the game. Garbage time, but it was nice to see him and get in the lineup. I almost want to say this is a throwaway game because this it was terrible. Because you can't even make an excuse. Like CeeDee Lamb is healthy, Pickens is there, Javonte Williams scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, but they didn't run the ball well. I know Javonte Williams scored 2 touchdowns, but they didn't run the ball well. And I know Patrick Surtain was hurt, but this is still a great defense. Again, this is one of those. I know Dak threw 2 interceptions. The first one was a bad one. He tried. And it was bad because you had a chance with Aubrey. You didn't need to gain. I mean, heck, I think they would have tried it right there and it'd have been a 70-yarder. And I get what Dak was trying to do. He's trying to get a touchdown because that's what they did against Washington last week. That's kind of what won the game for them was when Washington scored with a minute left, Dallas immediately drove down, didn't just kick a field goal. They scored a touchdown. But that's where you would like the veteran Dak to go, okay, we get the ball to begin the second half. So if we kick a field goal here, we go in 27-13, we score a touchdown, we're 27-20. That's where I'd like to just don't be so aggressive. But anyway, so that was a number 10. I still contend the next one should have been a number 10, and that's the Giants and the Eagles. The Eagles wearing Denver, Philly. Go back to these uniforms. And I know Denver, I keep saying Detroit. Denver's kind of went to it, but they went to the really dark blue. At least they do have the D helmet. But the Eagles, y'all need to go to this look full time. This is such a great look.
As much as I hate the Eagles, I know you hate the Eagles. I probably hate them more. I love this look. It looks great. The Giants, the reason why I gave this one a 9 out of 10 is because of the Giants. The contrast in colors is perfect. It looks great. Like that was in Philadelphia. My problem is I wish the Giants wore their older looks.
The giant helmet.
The giant helmet, yeah, because
I
that
like
brings
that.
back to the great decade of NFC East football with Lawrence Taylor, Buddy Ryan,
Randall Cunningham.
yeah, it's just a lot of great players, great looks, and I really that's why I knocked it down a point and gave
I
it a
get
9.
that. I do wish the Eagles would also wear their 70s green where they had the silver stripes on the instead of the eagle fly, which I do like the eagle fly. And by the way, we say it before, Giants, your road look, even with the NY helmet, maybe one of the best road looks in the NFL. Simple. And I didn't hate the gray pants. I really didn't. They were perfectly fine. But the all white with that blue helmet and not having blue anywhere else just makes it look so cool. Having just red and white on the rest of the jersey just makes that blue pop.
Yeah, yeah. Houston Texans take notice.
All right, here's one that I was a little surprised you agreed with me. I don't know why it worked. The black helmet with the Panthers has been wore at good times and bad times this year. I thought this was the best look, even though you can see Andy Dalton's wearing pantyhose, obviously. But no, I like this black helmet if you're going to use the black pants.
Yeah, this typically would not work for me, but it was in Carolina. Bills, Bills and Carolina, they just complemented each other. I'll just say that. Too bad Carolina looked good but didn't play well. Unfortunately for them, they lost 3 starting offensive linemen. Andy Dalton doesn't have legs anymore. He got sacked 7 times. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this Carolina offense, they really need them some Bryce Young. He is the difference maker in season 2 of Dave Canales' offense.
Good and bad difference maker, because we've seen some games he's been terrible, and then other games like against Dallas or against Atlanta, he's looked really good.
And I still think Buffalo would have won this game even if Bryce Young was in the game, but I don't think it would have been 40-9. James Cook, over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Amazing game. He definitely worth the money that he should have been paid earlier in the offseason. 19 carries, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns. I just feel bad for Carolina. Like, they're making progress. They're 4-4 now. This is their first home loss. They figured with Andy Dalton they were getting a solid veteran quarterback, but I think Dalton needs to retire. He has no legs anymore. And once a quarterback loses their legs, that's basically it for them.
I mean, you say you feel bad for them, but I mean, they're 2 games back. They're very much in these NFL or AFC South playoffs, though I think at the end of the day, Tampa's going to run away with that. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. All right, so our next, let me make sure I got this right. You have also the Bills or the Jets Bengals. Did I pull? Let me see. I got to look through these here.
By the way, on a weekend where they lost one of their stalwart offensive linemen, Nick Mangold, rest in peace. Aaron Glenn gets his first win as an NFL head coach. Congratulations to the New York Jets. Go into Cincinnati. They beat the Joe Flacco-led Cincinnati Bengals, who scored 38 points, but the Jets scored 39. Breece Hall had a great game, threw a game-winning touchdown pass. Yes, running back Breece Hall threw a game-winning touchdown pass. Now, how do you feel if you're Cincinnati? This is a prime opportunity, especially with the Steelers losing later in the day, to gain ground in the AFC North. And they lose to a winless team at home when they were in control of the game.
I mean, again, it just goes to show you as fun as what they did against the Steelers last week. And I know Joe Flacco wasn't terrible in this game by any stretch. I think he threw for 2 touchdowns. Sammy Pirine became the guy they kept leaning on. Chase Brown was, okay, not great. I mean, it's still, at the end of the day, the Cincinnati defense is bad, and they're going to give up a lot of points. Again, for all the talk about, hey, Dallas, we want to trade for Trey Hendrickson. Okay, why? He's on a bad defense in Cincinnati, and he's not a difference, and that's not his fault. It's just you can't. Hell, look at Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks against the New England Patriots. Myles Garrett absolutely dominated the offensive line, and the New England Patriots won going away. So kind of just tying this into the whole trades and stuff with Dallas. Dallas getting Trey Hendrickson or Max Crosby is not going to completely change anything. And yes, I know you're also getting DeMario Overshown back, but again, we don't know what he's going to be. He's going to take a couple games to get back into form. And let's be honest, in 3 seasons now, he's tore his knee in twice, in 2 of them, one of them in a preseason. So we don't even know what his longevity is. So, you know, with Cincinnati, they're like Dallas. They're going to lose games. They're going to win games. They're probably going to be 9-8. But the thing is because they're in a division where everybody has struggled outside of Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, again, we kind of know who they are and you don't really trust them. 9-8 might win them a division.
Yeah, I mean, it's wide open. Even Cleveland has a shot at the AFC North title at this point. They're 2-6. Pittsburgh's 4-3. They're only 2.5 games out.
Yeah,
being honest. Baltimore.
Gabriel's not playing bad. They just have a lot of other issues. Again, I think it's very true now, and I'll go ahead and pull them up now because we had them as one of our. Well, not that one. Where'd it go? I don't know where the Cincinnati one, and because I had them too. Here we go. Browns. This was an 8 or 9. I can't remember. Did you put this as an 8? Yeah, you put this as an 8. Hey, look, I'll admit that's not my favorite Patriots look, but they have cleaned up the blue and silver to where it looks pretty good. And then, of course, Cleveland, man, they just – and I know John in our sports groups hate it, but I don't see how you can look at this all-white look with Cleveland and the orange helmet and hate that.
It's probably because to him it's too plain, but to me and you, it's too clean. It's a great look. It's what you and I were begging for them to go back to back in the mid-2010s when they had those god-awful uniforms. I love the way New England's playing football right now. This is the easy part of their schedule, so they're going to start patting on the wins. But Drake May is fearless. Will Campbell did get exposed a little bit by Myles Garrett, but he's a rookie. This is a good learning experience for him. He said he's going to fight and die to protect his quarterback. He didn't do that well of a job this past Sunday, but not many people can do that against Myles Garrett. So I'm going to give the rookie left tackle some grace there. But overall, I love the way New England plays football. Even in their losses, they didn't look that bad. They're 6-2, man. I'm not saying they're baggage. I'm just thinking they have an easy schedule this season, and they're taking advantage of it with some sound football.
I think they're a good football team. I think they've quietly built the roster back. They still need some explosion at the top. You know, I think in the draft, you're going to look for a couple more true playmakers on offense. But yeah, I mean, I think that they've all, you know, again, this is nothing against Jared Mayo. He seems like a good guy, but it's what we talk about with Deshaun Foster. I think he just didn't grasp what actual being a head coach was. He thought it was going to come in and you say rah things. No, he didn't understand. It's the day-to-day of making sure your team is at station 1 at 10 o'clock and at station 2 at 10:15 and not lollygag, not let things get mucked up. And so I think, of course, as much as I knocked Mike Vrabel for underperforming after the one fluke year in Tennessee, I never thought he was a bad coach. Like I would not hate Mike Vrabel as a Dallas Cowboy coach. I just felt that they underperformed at times at Tennessee after that year. But then I kind of realized, okay, maybe it was just everything fell together for them in that year to get to the AFC title game. And you know, anything like that. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Where are we at? All right, this is one we hated. I didn't really, again, this is one of those where the two teams wearing this normally are not bad, but wearing it on the field at the same time, the Ravens decided to go with the black helmet, black top, white pants, the Bears in their traditional blue, white, blue. Separate, they're good. On the field together, they just didn't look right.
I think this could have been salvaged if the Bears whipped out the orange jerseys or orange helmets, just for some contrast purposes.
I'd like that. I'd love to see them wear the orange helmet, white jersey, white pants, or even maybe orange helmet, white jersey, orange pants.
I wouldn't mind that either, but we didn't get a chance to see it. It just looked plain. And just speaking of the game in general, this was a game the Bears probably should have won, and they let it slip away. I'm kind of disappointed because they just came into this game winning 4 in a row. The Ravens have been struggling. Their 2-time MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson's not playing, and they somehow come out with the win. Good for them. They're also now in line to compete for the AFC North title. But I really think the Bears just dropped this one. This is a game they should have won.
Okay, I want to ask you something. This is late breaking, not news, but ESPN put out their top 32 moments in Monday Night Football. So basically, what is a top moment for every NFL team? One top moment. Let me ask you off the top of your head. I'll go ahead and ask Mario off the top of his head. What is Tennessee's top moment in Monday Night Football history? I guess that includes Houston, but I will go ahead and tell you it is a Tennessee Titan moment. For you, what do you think was the top Dallas Cowboy moment?
I always think of the losses, like the Mark Brunell to Santana
No,
Moss.
these are all good moments. These are all positives. I think they're. Well, I think with Washington it might not be because I think it might be the Joe Theismann leg.
Oh, the Heisman leg, yeah.
But for the most part, these are all positives.
Positive Cowboy. Oh, the Monday night game at Buffalo.
That's the one.
Oh wow, yeah, because it was Tony Romo's basically worst game, but it was a great year in 07. They got to 5-0 after this win, but he threw 4 interceptions. He basically was Buffalo's offense in that game.
5 interceptions.
5 interceptions.
6 total turnovers with a fumble.
And they end up winning because of great field goal kicking. They get to 5-0, and then I think they play the Patriots the following week or after a bye, and that was like a very publicized, highly anticipated matchup. 2 undefeated teams. But yeah, it was an ugly Cowboys performance, and they somehow derped their way into a victory.
All right, so this is what they said about it. There's so many to choose from. From Tony Dorsett's 99-yard touchdown run against Minnesota, that's iconic.
In a loss.
Yeah, people forget they lost that game. Phil Knight joining Jerry Jones on the sideline when in 95, that's the Emmitt Smith first carry, goes 65 yards. Bill Parcells' first win in 2003. We've talked about that one many times. I do think they missed at least putting in the 83 where, the very next game after losing the NFC title game to Washington in Washington, they go into Washington. They're down 24-3, and they come back and win 31-30. I think I mean, again, that's the kid in me. That to me is a bigger moment than the Tony Romo one. The Tony Romo was a great one. The Tony Romo was a great one because, as you said, it was a great season, but it also just added to the Romo legend of he'll kill you or he'll salvage the day. Either way, it'll be fun to watch. So I do appreciate that. Let me see if I don't know if.
Did you find what the Tennessee Titan one was?
Mario says Henry trucking a guy in Buffalo. Let me see what it is.
Wasn't that that was sort of recent, right? No, was it 2017, 2018?
That could be any time. There's no time. This is in the history of their time on the thing.
Well, I mean, Derrick Henry has been a player since 2015, 2016, and I think it was before he became the Derrick Henry we knew. I think maybe DeMarco Murray was on the team at this point, so he was kind of sharing the load. But I think it was late in the season, or maybe I might be misremembering this. But
I guess some of these are losses.
It could have been like a 2018 game. I'll have to look that one up. Tennessee and
Buffalo. That one, I do know that. I'm trying to find it because I lost my place, but it's something to do with Keith Bulluck. Yeah, Titans linebacker Keith Bulluck is still known as Mr. Monday Night 18 years after a stellar performance against the Saints. Bulluck gave himself the name before the game and then backed it up by intercepting 3 passes from Drew Brees, helping the Titans win 31-14. Brees turned the ball over 5 times. In 15 Monday Night Football appearances, Bulluck had 6 interceptions and 12 pass defenses. A linebacker. He was a very good linebacker. That's a little underwhelming. I'd have thought the other one. Let me see what they are on the Texans. The Texans. It can't be when they beat Dallas because that was Sunday night. The Texans' most memorable outing was against the Chargers in 2013. Early in the third quarter, the Chargers took a 28-7 lead, but the Texans marched back thanks to Matt Schaub, who threw 2 touchdown passes to cut the lead in 1 possession. Then Texans roided out linebacker Brian Hates the World, who'll punch women Cushings, intercepted quarterback Phillip Rivers, stabbed himself in the ass with a needle, and then returned it for a touchdown to tie it up. And then Randy Bullock sealed the deal with a 41-yard. I don't even remember that game.
Are you reading this word for word, sir?
Yes, I promise, word for word. And there's a picture of Brian Cushing as he's scoring with a needle in his ass. And it's weird because Hulk Hogan's standing right behind him on.
Oh, God.
Anyway, if you're a football fan, if you're a Monday Night Football fan, read it. It's cool. Some of these are losses, like the Arizona. You know the Arizona one.
Against with the Cowboys or
No, on Monday night, Arizona's most well-known Monday night.
I guess the Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
Dennis
are-
Green, former Cardinal. Yeah, we they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. I mean, probably the best game I've ever seen on Monday Night Football is that Jets-Dolphin game in 2000.
Oh, the
big comeback by the Jets.
Rams and KC, man.
Oh, yeah, what was like 51-45? So some ridiculous score in 2018.
Yep. I'm looking now. Let's slide off on our normal stuff because I kind of this brings up memories for me because I am of that generation. And I'm not saying Monday night isn't important now, but I am of that generation, man, where Monday night, that was the chance for you to learn about teams that maybe you didn't know a lot about because, I didn't grow up with cable. I don't know if my dad's still there. I think we got cable in like 90 or 91 was the first time. I grew up in the country. People don't realize back in the day out in the country, you couldn't get cable. You had to be in a city or at least a city that was willing to come out there. And so Monday night is when I would learn about Green Bay and Detroit or Denver. One of my favorite games is Green Bay goes out to Denver on a Monday night, like I think it was in '83, and it's snowing. And on back-to-back plays, the Broncos get like an interception and a scoop and score, or it might have been two scoop and scores. And I just remember watching that game in the snow. Denver's beautiful look, Green Bay with that, the white jerseys with the yellow helmet and everything. And back then, Monday night was, you watched every Monday night game. You didn't care who it was. Even later in the season, if the game record-wise was bad, it was very rare. They did a good job of picking. Of course, back then you could kind of know who was going to be good with, no salary cap and stuff. But still, man, Monday night was the everything for me as a kid.
One thing about it, like for people that weren't live in '83, in the mid to late '80s, there wasn't that many options for TV. Now we have streaming. The internet's a thing. We can watch whatever we want to watch. But back then, you had ABC, CBS, NBC, the big three. And ABC was carrying the Monday Night Football game. So, yeah, that was pretty big for sports fans. You just were glued on to TV. The coverage was amazing, too. I have to give them credit for that. The coverage was amazing. The interviews were great. So, yeah, I can understand why you would feel that it was must-watch TV. And I'm pretty sure the viewership, the Nielsen ratings were through the roof for those games week to week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they still are even now. And for the Jets, it is the one you thought, what they call the Monday Night Miracle. I always remember that because it was 2000, and I had went back – at this point, I went back to college. I was in junior college, and I can just remember getting home, and the game had – it was like we've been doing at that time, I was dating a girl and I was in theater and I was helping build sets. And and where I lived was right across from the school. And so I just went home, saw the score, and like, oh, this is an ass kicking. I'm just going back. I literally was like, I'm just going to go back up to the studio and help. And we had a TV there, so I just turned it on in the background. And I just remember as we were working and building the set, I just kept looking up and going, okay, it's still too far. Shit, that's now 30-21. Okay. And then I remember just sitting down, ordering a pizza right as the pizza place in Carthage, Texas was closing, and watching the last two drives of that game, eating a pepperoni pizza, a large that I didn't even pay for because the guy in theater was like, hey, we're about to throw it out anyway. You just want me to bring you a large? Hell yeah, brother. Bring me a large pepperoni pizza. I wasn't even a fan of the Jets and everything, but I was rooting for them on that night.
That's awesome. Yeah. The more we're talking about this, now I'm starting to recall some things. Packers, Vikings, the Antonio Freeman catch, that has to be one of those two teams' top moments. But now I'm thinking about it. Vikings, Bears in '85 when the Bears won the Super Bowl. Vikings were up. McMahon comes in, throws a dart, I think, to Willie Gault to win the game.
Hang on. It has to be Green Bay.
Oh, and then Bears and Packers, Fridge Perry scoring a touchdown on Monday night. That has to be up there too.
It's the he did what? The thing that I always forget.
Oh, I know what the Packers is.
No,
Brett Favre.
It's the he did what? It's the
Antonio. Oh, really? Because Brett Favre's dad, who passed away, the next night he plays against the Raiders on Monday night, has that epic performance. But I can see why they would still go with Antonio Freeman's ridiculous catch.
Well, I mean, I contend, and you and I have talked about this before, I still contend that's maybe the greatest catch in NFL history.
Oh, yeah.
You could talk about luck and all that, and yes, I know Odell with the one arm, and hell, speaking of, I know he didn't score a touchdown, but that CeeDee Lamb at the goal line catch yesterday will be forgotten about because he didn't get in. That was as good as his Minnesota catch for a touchdown during the COVID year. But anyway, I digress. Two things I always forget. A, that it was in 2000. I always think that that's in the middle of the Green Bay, like 96, 97, 98. And also that it was an overtime game winner. I always forget that part of it. It won the game and just one of the greatest moments. It's kind of fun. I'm going to kind of scroll and just keep. Chicago, their biggest one is it's beating Green Bay with the first time, the first time Fridge got carries for a touchdown.
It was either that or the Minnesota game.
Sadly for Washington, it is the Joe Theismann. I mean, that is if you rank the top 5 iconic Monday Night moments, that's one of them.
100%.
Oh, Philadelphia. It's the Mike Vick showing out against the Washington when they beat them.
Oh, I thought they were winning the Super Bowl in 2010 after that game.
Wasn't that the one that Vince Young called the super team? Because he was the backup?
No, that was the next year.
2011, okay.
So 2011, Vince Young, because he got signed there, and he called him the super team. But yeah, Vic was he was on form. And all those young receivers, they were talking about him, how they grew up watching him and idolizing him, and now they get to play with him. They were all motivated for a majority of the 2010 season. Kevin Kolb started the season for the Eagles. He got hurt. Vic gets in, and he just lights it up. And they win the division, but they kind of tail off toward the end of 2010. And then they lose to the Packers in the wild card round at home. But that was a kind of nice little second act for Michael Vick post-jail release.
Colts, of course, we talk about the Jets' miracle comeback. Their miracle comeback against a great Buccaneer defense in 2003.
Yeah, 2003. Buccaneers had just won the Super Bowl. They kind of struggled the next year, and they had some good moments. I always love a Monday night game in Tampa or just a big game in Tampa because whenever there's a big score, the camera always shakes because the crowd's like going crazy. I thought when you mentioned the Colts, it was going to talk about the 2009 game versus Miami because you and I had talked about that because reference to yesterday, Houston hosted the 49ers. They used ball control offense to beat the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me because I think the Texans almost broke a record for longest time of possession in one half, which I think they had the ball for about 24 minutes. It was some ridiculous number for one half. And I was telling you, it reminded me of the 2009 game where Miami hosted the Colts and held the ball for well over 40 minutes because they were deathly afraid of Peyton Manning. Year before, Miami wins the East with Chad Pennington, who finishes second in the MVP voting. The Colts, they make the playoffs. I'm sure they remember. I don't know if they won the division. They might have. They probably have. It was a pretty good time for the Colts during that 2000s decade. Manning won the MVP that season.
Yep, that's right.
But I always love the fact that the Dolphins, with Chad Pennington, like in a comeback player of the year, he almost won the MVP because he was so good for the Dolphins that season. The next year, they started 0-3. He gets hurt. He's out. But they had a good strategy. It was a great plan. Keep away football. And they still lost to the Colts because the Colts were so good that year. They started off 14-0. They just basically benched everybody because they clinched everything, lost their final 2 games, still make the Super Bowl, and then they faltered late against the Saints in the Super Bowl.
I'm actually surprised that none of the other teams, good or bad, there's really only a couple bad ones, Arizona and Washington. Everybody else is pretty good. None of them are over Dallas because, man, back then, especially in the 80s and 90s, if you beat Dallas on Monday night, and let me see if Detroit, you think.
I'm really surprised that Washington, the Mark Brunell to Santana Moss back-to-back.
Yeah, that was 2 bad teams. All these.
Well, Terry, to be fair, it was the night the triplets got enshrined.
Well, now, Noe, to be fair.
As much as media likes to bash on the Cowboys, that was the same night the triplets got enshrined as the Cowboys Ring of Honor. They were up 13-0 going into the fourth quarter. It was a perfect match. It was perfect setting. And then Washington scores those two random touchdowns to win 14-13. Very embarrassing for the Cowboys.
Yeah, again, I don't know. I feel bad for Washington that they just gave them the broken leg. Anyway, all right. That's what checking the news does for you. Sometimes you just find some cool stuff you want to talk about. I want to go back to the uniform things. I like how you've integrated talking the game with the uniform. I was trying to keep them separate, and you just mash them together. I kind of like that. Let's talk about a game that looked bad and was ugly. I'm sorry. Look, Atlanta's uniform is perfect. I have no problem with Atlanta's uniforms. But this is Miami's uniform. When they wear this, any of the actual blue that they wear now, it's the ugliest looking football. And so to me, this is a 3. You gave it a 7. I was a little surprised by that.
I love the contrast in colors. I typically don't like when the Falcons do the all black, but I like the contrast with the Dolphins. The game was ugly. I will give you that.
Dude, I don't know what to think of Atlanta. Every time I think they're ready to take that next step, it feels the same. They feel the exact same thing as they were under Arthur Smith. And I like Raheem Morris, and I acknowledge, I think he's even acknowledged that he should have never been named the Tampa head coach. That was just not fair to him. But I'm starting to go, okay, you don't lose this game if you want to make the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying they won't make the playoffs. They might. But you do not lose this game at home to a team that is begging to fire their head coach. Like, they are begging everybody to beat them to fire their head coach. And not only do you lose, it's not even competitive, man. And it's at home.
I 100% agree with everything you said.
Joey.
Where was it at, Terry?
It was at home.
This reminds me of the Bengals loss yesterday.
Go
hit the button. Now, no.
Oh, yeah.
To be fair.
To be fair.
I will agree and disagree because Cincinnati still has a massive defensive issue. Atlanta, outside of this game and the Carolina game, where they've given up 74 points, I think off the top of my head, because I think wasn't it 40-0, and they gave up 34.
It was something to nothing. It was definitely over 30.
Other than those two games, the Atlanta defense has been solid. They've been playing well. Jets have been weird this year. At times they look good. They look good when they lost to the Steelers. They look terrible when they lost to the Cowboys. I mean, hell, they kind of still look terrible for the most part.
They almost beat the Buccaneers in Tampa.
That's true. And that's right. Shit, the block kick, the return touchdown, and Baker Mayfield. But yeah, so my point is the Jets have at least looked competitive. And also, that was a close game. The Bengals lost, but it was 39-38. And a game that the Bengals also had a 2-touchdown advantage. And whenever they went for 2, I wanted to text you this, but to be fair, I was kind of about to go nappy nap because it was at that 2:30 window. I wanted to say if they make this 2-point conversion, they'll win the game. And then for the 2-point conversion to be so close, and I think it was a good call. I think he got in. Again, I don't like the rule, but the rule is if the tip of the ball touches the white line, I think the ball should at least have to cross it. Maybe not fully, but I think the tip should, just the tip, I think the tip should have to be in the end zone. But anyway, once they called that, in my mind, I said, Jets are going to find a way to win this, or maybe Cincinnati is going to find a way to lose this. But Cincinnati was competitive in that game. Atlanta looked like they didn't want to be there, man. At home, Noe.
Yeah, for Atlanta, they were without Michael Penix Jr., they were without Drake London, they were without their top edge rusher and Zach Harrison. Even with all that, all the Dolphins did on defense was focus on stopping Bijan Robinson. I'm just bewildered that the Falcons on offense just couldn't adjust their game plan to be more diverse because they still had Kyle Pitts. They still had some receivers. They were still playing the Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa woke up with a swollen eye. They gave the training staff gave him antibiotics. They put a visor on his face mask just to protect the eye.
What happened to his eye? Did he get poked, or was it an allergic reaction?
No clue, but it happened when he woke up Sunday morning. He was a late addition to the injury report, and he throws 4 touchdowns, almost flawless football. Waddle looks like he did when he was a rookie. This was a different Dolphin team. Mike McDaniels just saved his job. I don't know if they use this game and make this a momentum builder for the rest of the season, or might just be a one-off and Mike McDaniel's just fired anyway at the end of the season.
Well, here we go. So going forward for them, they have the Ravens on Thursday night. You don't know what to expect of the Ravens. I know Lamar Jackson's going to start, but A, it's a hamstring. You know how hamstrings are for guys that run, and B, he hasn't played in a couple games. Then they have the Bills. They played the Bills good in Buffalo. Again, that was a game. Everybody looked at that Colts when they got their butt whooped at the beginning of the year. But, the next two losses were the Patriots by 6 and the Bills by 10. And they played the Bills really solid in that game. And it's a rivalry game, so anything can happen. Then you've got the Commanders, and I kind of feel like what we thought would happen with the Commanders now for them.
Well, now, Noe, to be fair,
I think it's going to turn out with Washington, at least this year. It's more injuries, but Washington is not the Washington they were last year. Then they've got the Saints, then they've got the Jets, then they got the Steelers. So if Mike McDaniel wants to turn this season around, it could happen. Do I think it happens? No. I still think that team is internally flawed. I think we're learning that Waddle can be a number one, though. You don't have to have, and I like Tyreek Hill as a player, but you don't have to have a Tyreek Hill type guy.
He was a number one 4 years ago when he came in as a rookie.
Yep.
Miami's 2-6. Best case scenario, based off of what you told me of their schedule, I think 8-9 is realistic as far as best case scenario.
Shit, if they go 8-9, you might have to give him coach of the year.
Coach of the year, yes, exactly.
Around without Tyreek Hill, with all the issues. Now I want to go back to Atlanta. Are we seeing a Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley type situation where the first team will never figure out? Now, again, I'm tired of hitting it. To be fair to the Giants, Barkley was always hurt. Not every year, but he was consistently banged up. Robinson hasn't been, but it just feels like, man, give him to someone else. And because I don't know why Atlanta can't figure out how to use him consistently without completely killing every other part of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, Bijan was drafted that high in the draft because he's a two-way player. He can catch, he can run, three-way. He can block as well. They also have Tyler Algier that can do a lot of the grunt work. He was a 1,000-yard running back a couple years, like the year before Bijan got drafted. He's still a 1,000-yard running back. He just paired with a great running back as well. You need to find a way to use him. I would put Bijan out in open space, become a matchup problem for linebackers and safeties.
They did it against San Francisco when he got his only touchdown. It was a touchdown reception. He lined up out of motion slot, and then they ran a little slot up under screen for him to get it. By the way, I want to get this in because EJ. By the way, welcome EJ. Is that Almendarez? He said, should the Cowboys make some moves to upgrade their defense or tank the rest of the year? My answer to that is yes on both accounts. You can make a trade for a player and still understand he's not the answer now, but he becomes a cornerstone piece going forward, like a Max Crosby. Now, by reports, Matt Crosby said, hey, I want to stay in the Raiders. But Matt Crosby's 28, and he seems like he has that kind of body where he'll be able to play till 33, 34. So you could trade for a Max Crosby, anchor that, and then still go for the future. But I have one for you, intern Noe the Pro. What do you think it would take to get Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns? Not just for Dallas, but for any team that's looking to upgrade their defense.
Well, especially after a 5 sacks performance at New England. I mean, basically almost about the same that the Cowboys had to, or the Packers had to pay to get Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons.
By the way, Micah Parsons.
Probably a first-round pick or two and another player.
Would you do it?
Yes.
If you were Dallas and Cleveland said, we want 3 first rounds for Myles Garrett.
No.
I would go 2 first rounds and 2 seconds. And then throw in like a Sam Williams or somebody.
Oh, man, because Myles Garrett, he's still young, but he's 29, almost 30.
But he doesn't have a lot of doesn't have a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, that's the plus of him.
And he's got, again, it's not about the person, it's about their body size and their build. And he loves playing football. Mario says, is Garrett's contract's too big? I mean, it's less than Micah Parsons. and you're getting a guy that rushes the quarterback and plays the run game.
I would say if the Cowboys have to ask themselves, can they use those 2 picks from the Packers plus their 2 picks in the next 2 years and get 3 players that can replace the production of Micah Parsons and also more? If so, then don't make a trade.
But I do think you have to bring up a thing that you and I don't want to admit, but as good as Dallas has been drafting offensive linemen, I don't want a defensive lineman or a tight end drafted by the Dallas Cowboys right now. Or a corner.
They don't know how to do it. They really don't know how to do it. Schoonmaker, damn it. Mozzie Smith, shit. Taco Charlton, why?
Yes, the biggest issue to me, and you and I said this in real time, was when they drafted Schoonmaker with a number 1 is why. Jake Ferguson had showed the year before he got hurt, but he showed the year before how good. Remember, Travis Kelce famously came out after one of the Monday Night Cowboy games and just was on his podcast with his brother and said, I think I just saw the next Travis Kelce. His name's Jake Ferguson in Dallas. So
he also said Bellinger is also, which the Giants are hilariously not using him at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
And Schoonmaker, you know what university he went to, right? Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. I thought
Cowboys should never draft a Wolverine player ever again.
Oh, but yeah, good question, EJ. I said at the beginning of the show, I don't know if you're there, Dallas is going to be 8-8-1. That's not going to get them into the playoffs unless Philadelphia collapses, simply because the NFC is going to have too much teams in between them. If they were in a NFC or AFC North style division, 8-8-1 might win the division. But being in the NFC East, unless the Eagles just completely collapse, and I still don't think Washington's done yet by any stretch. I just think we've got
to. By the way, the Monday Night Football game has started.
Yeah, I got it on the screen. I admit that it sucks because there's the part of me that wishes they would just again. Screw 8-8-1. Let's just win 5 games. But also the week-to-week fan of me, I don't want to do that. It ain't even Thanksgiving yet. I'm not ready to talk to. Oh, this is an interesting-looking uniform game. Wow. Yeah, you're gonna either love or hate this one, buddy.
I would give it a 4. I wish the Washington would wear white pants. I wish they went all white and just had the helmet. I think that would be okay. It still would have just been plain. If they had done that, I probably would have given it a 6.
I genuinely believe Washington needs to go back to I think they're only wearing it one time, but just go back to the look that they're wearing here in a couple weeks. I think it actually might be against Dallas.
That wouldn't shock me.
Huh?
That wouldn't shock me.
Let me hang on. I don't want that one.
So yeah, this was a game that I was circling at the beginning of the season when we did our preview that I don't think that ever got aired. But the Washington, Kansas City tonight, Monday Night Football. Jaden Daniels is hurt, so this is not as important of a game to me as it is. But seeing basically the present star versus the future star, Jaden Daniels with Washington, Patrick Mahomes with Kansas City, that was an intriguing matchup. Just like last night was.
Hang on. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is not in the twilight of his career yet.
I said the present star versus the future star. Patrick Mahomes is already a star now.
Is Daniels a future star?
Yeah, he took a Washington as a rookie to the NFC title game. They had not been to the NFC title game since the 91 season when they won the Super Bowl. One of the all-time greatest teams. Yeah.
Superstar then?
Yeah, I'm going ahead and crown him. This is not the Heisman Trophy race, okay? I can crown somebody in the NFL, and it's okay. And hey, it's gonna stick.
Are you saying Jared Goff is who we thought he was?
Yes.
I mean, that dude has went to a Super Bowl, multiple NFC title games, and yet, and I know
with 2 different teams.
And I know fantasy, but he's also he's a fantasy machine. Yet in almost every league, if you want to go get a quarterback, Jared Goff's usually available. It absolutely blows my mind.
It does blow my mind because nobody beats Goff. Okay? Nobody beats Goff.
I mean, well, until you get to the Super Bowl or the NFC title game, then you get beat.
I just don't see a lot of people beating Goff. That's all I'm saying.
You're just wanting to beat Goff.
I just want to beat Goff so hard right now.
Hey, look, next Saturday, when after Texas upsets Vanderbilt, I'm going to be in your hotel room. I'm just going to be beating off. That's all I'm going to be doing.
Beating off. Yep.
Beating off.
Beating off.
I
Yep.
will say this. I like Jaden Daniels, LSU quarterback. I think he is going to be a star. But I do think, and you and I have said this about Washington, I still think last year might be one of those 5 years from now. It'll be the – you remember when Washington made that run to the NFC title game? Not that they're going to fall apart, but you and I have talked about it. Dan Quinn's defense is smoke and mirrors at times. And this year, as the Jaden Daniels injuries issue, but their biggest issue has been defense. Dallas just absolutely shredded that defense a couple weeks ago.
Hey, man. I initially loved last season for Washington because it reminded me of George Allen in the 70s where he was getting all these 30-plus-year-old.
Thank you. I'm going to bring that up because outside of Jaden Daniels and a couple other players, one of the things that you and I were getting so frustrated on sports pages and stuff when they were talking about how the young and upstart Washington, they're not young. They had like the 4th or 5th oldest roster last year. That's their issue is, and they might do this brilliantly. You've got your quarterback. He's already had success. And then you're going to transition that roster around him over the next few years. But the problem is if you're good enough to be in the playoffs and you're drafting in the late 20s, that's really hard to rebuild a roster on the fly.
Yeah, it really is really hard. But the fact that they have a young quarterback who's having some injury issues this season.
Wow.
I guess I'm behind. Worthy got a catch.
Oh, 6'7". I don't know what the hell that means, but I see everybody doing it. Even Tony Romo and Jim Nantz were talking about it yesterday. 6'7".
Okay. I don't know what that means.
Apparently, some kids in a random sports broadcast were doing 6'7", and they were doing juggling look, and so everybody's doing that now. It's become a big thing. 6'7". Nobody knows what it means. It's the society today.
Okay. We're just getting stupider. I see.
Oh, okay. People. Kansas City.
What were you saying before?
I love football. Philadelphia outlast New York. We talked about the injury. Saquon Barkley finally had that breakout game going 150 yards, had a 60-yard touchdown, but then in Saquon Barkley fashion, pulled a groin. They're saying it's not serious. Look, hamstrings and groins for any position, any player, but any position where you're needing to cut left and right, groins and hamstrings are the worst thing that you can have.
They've been surviving without his elite production, though, this season. So maybe let him sit a couple of games might help. Or maybe he's been the greatest decoy this season. Maybe at the midway point, as Mario said, the equinox, the sports equinox, we should be talking about who the MVP is this season, because for the NFL, I don't really know who it is, to be honest with you. I want to give it to Jonathan Taylor with the Colts or Daniel Jones with the Colts.
My top 5 right now: number 1, Daniel Jones. Number 2, Jonathan Taylor Thompson. Number 3, I know he had a bad game yesterday, but what he's having to do with injuries in the defense, Dak Prescott. Number 4, Baker Mayfield. And number 5, Josh Allen.
That's a pretty good top 5. I would not knock that.
Sitting there knocking on that door is a Patrick Mahomes now that the offense is healthy and revitalized, and this is starting to look way more like 2019, 2020, 2021 Chiefs instead of the last few years where it's been, let's let the defense do everything and we'll do a drive in the last moment. As I say that, beautiful interception by Washington right there.
Yeah.
Mahomes sucks. They should cut him.
Trash. Just trade him.
Trade him to Dallas for Mozzie Smith, Taco Charlton, Morris Claiborne, and Eric Bjornson. Eric Bjornson won a Super Bowl actually, he was a solid tight end. He went on to have a pretty solid career with New England as well. But I always forget that he was. Oh, we got to talk about that. Okay, we're having fun now. We got like 8 people. We've got about 30 minutes left, so I want to finish this talking about. I am now. What's that weird sound? Anyway. I am now on episode 4 of the Cowboys Netflix. I'm in the middle of the Buffalo Super Bowl, the first one.
Are you loving the music? because that's the thing I love the most about this whole series.
I love the music. I love the storytelling. I love how for the NFC title game, they kept tying everything back to Jerry and Jimmy in the 60s at Arkansas. And they just did a real good, that's great storytelling. It's one of my favorite ways to tell a story. As you know, I'm a big Buffy. He's an asshole as a person, but Joss Whedon can tell a story. And that's one of his famous tropes is you start at point A, go back to the go back to the present. All right. Things that have surprised me. And I know we're not to the breakup yet. I totally understand that. But how just loving Jerry Jones speaks of Jimmy Johnson and his thoughts of him in 90, 91, 92, 93. I've been actually really, really surprised with it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm past the Buffalo. I'm past the holdout. I'm sorry. I'm past the holdout. So I'm right in the middle of 93, right when they're about to repeat. In fact, I think they were just about to do the when I fell asleep and stopped it, they were just about to do the radio call, which that's one of those cool things. I was listening live when Jerry did that. I was listening to Randy Galloway when he came on. I still remember just, I won't tell my personal circumstances, but basically me and my baby mama wife, we were living in an apartment with no TV. And she surprised me by renting a TV so we could watch that game. And I was so, living there, I'd grown up a Cowboy fan, grown up a fan of just Dallas. Dallas was a place I always wanted to be. And so I was there. I'm right in the middle of this. And folks, if you don't know, and they talk a little bit about it on the show, Dallas is so different than other football towns when Dallas is good. Now, maybe not as much now because we're cynical. We're like, well, we'll lose in the playoffs anyway. We'll throw it away. But back then we weren't. And I remember, dude, the Dallas Cowboys had a pep rally at Texas Stadium in 1992 that brought like 65,000 people out. It's just a different thing.
We were starving for a winner.
Well, and we just love football, and Dallas is a front winner. Again, go look at the Rangers when they win; their attendance is good. Go look at the Mavericks when they win; their attendance is good. The Stars actually genuinely have solid attendance anyway. The Stars have a very underrated fan base here in Dallas. We've become a hockey loving group. But anyway, just going all the way back to that, I was surprised at how complimentary Jerry Jones was of Jimmy Johnson. And again, I know the twist is coming. I'm just saying. I am.
Oh, I can't wait for you to watch that part.
Well, I mean, I know it. I lived it in real time.
But the way they do it is pretty good on the documentary.
And I've heard that a friend of mine that from back then who's not in media stuff, he was telling me he's a Green Bay fan. He was telling me like, man, he goes, they do that even though it's coming, you're still just like, what the fuck? Like what both? And I think the biggest thing for people that've seen is like it's both of them. Like at any time. And Jimmy said this in his book. And I tell him, go read Jimmy's book. Jimmy has admitted in his book, like, hey, you know what? Yeah, Jerry wanted too much credit, but I could have also been magnanimous and all. But at the end of the day, Jimmy always was going to leave because he's not a sustainer; he's a builder. But anyway,
it's just shocking to me because they were on the cusp of history. No team has won 3 straight Super Bowls, and that offseason after '93. I just will never be able to wrap my head around it. I know I was a young kid at that point, but I'll never wrap my head around how they couldn't just put the egos to the side. Part of me kind of gets it because when you're winning like that, your ego is very massive and your fragility is very increased. So I can see why it ended up the way it did, but I'm waiting for you to watch that part. I know you know the story, but I want you to see how the documentary tells it.
Well, and I want to say this documentary shows where I'm not calling anybody a liar. We're talking 30 years ago, but how things change. And I want to go back to the 1992 NFC title game because you can go watch America's game and you can go to that point where Dallas had, went for it on 4th and they didn't make it. Niners drive down the field and score in the very famous Alvin Harper plays coming up. Now, in America's game, which they did, about 15 years ago? Didn't they come out in 2010 when they did that whole series? So whatever it was, because it started as America's game for just the top 10 Super Bowl teams. And then it got so great, they're like, well, screw it. Let's just do all the Super Bowls. But in that moment, Troy Aikman's story is Norv Turner asked Jimmy Johnson, what do you want to do? And Jimmy Johnson says, I want to go score. Okay? Famous sign. So in this documentary, Troy Aikman says, Norv Turner asked Jimmy Johnson, what do you want to do? And Jimmy Johnson says, we need a first down. Let's throw the ball. That is two completely different stories from the same guy. So that is why you have to take a grain of salt, whether it be in the past with Jimmy Johnson saying, I never was going to stay past 4 years. I seriously wanted to go to Jacksonville. They've brush over that very faintly in this. I seriously wanted to go to Jacksonville. And then also Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman have both said multiple times back then, we don't win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson that third year because he had wore us down psychologically. They just don't think they could have went to the well with him again.
Would love to have seen Jimmy Johnson as the head coach in 1994, though. I know that's probably one of the greatest Cowboy teams of all time and one of the greatest teams that never won a Super Bowl. But I'm curious to see how Jimmy Johnson would have handled even if they made it to the NFC title game. Maybe they wouldn't have made it. Maybe there was fatigue. Maybe they don't even make the playoffs. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think Jimmy Johnson should have at least gotten that 94 season there. And then we could have seen him leave. But
I want to say this. I really, really loved them bringing in the Niners, the Bills. I didn't expect that. Also, sadly, I know he's free now.
Kelly, yeah.
Jim Kelly just sounds so different now, but I'm glad he's, but
I'm glad he's alive.
Yes. But hearing Steve Young say that, that 92 championship game was the most painful game I've ever been in. Jerry Rice saying, we thought all we had to do was punch them and they'd fold, and then they didn't. And he even admits, and then the next year we were scared of them.
It was an all-star team, the 94 49ers. They got Charles Mann. They got Deion Sanders.
Gary Plummer.
Ricky Jackson from the Saints, Hall of Famer. That's how they won the Super Bowl. They just they loaded their roster. They had no flaws on their roster in general. They tried the same thing in 97. It just didn't work out. But for 1 year in 94, George Seifert was able to get his second Super Bowl.
And I was, again, going back to, I was impressed. I was really expecting, just from what people talk, like Jerry was going to be like, I did the Walker trade on my own. No, he was very honest. He said, Jimmy came to me and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. And Jerry even at first said, what? No, that's our best player. But then he said, he talked me into it. I understood his view. So again, I know it's going to turn, but I'm just saying, I really thought Jerry was going to come out from the beginning of the dock just throwing, arrows at Jimmy, and he's not. And Jimmy's not throwing arrows at Jerry at all either. And again, they even the whole famous Prince of Saudi Arabia story comes in, and Troy always made it sound like Jerry ruined that because Jimmy wanted to give the speech. In this one, it's just brushed off like Jimmy just was so tired he didn't want to talk. So again, you got to take everything. This is the thing about history. As somebody who loves history and the real life history, and I have a history minor, and you know me, I love anything history, and I watch half the YouTube channels I watch is history. Me and my dad are always sending each other this history channel and stuff. You have to take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to somebody talking about something 5 years ago that happened 10 years ago, and then 20 years ago, and then 30 years ago, because whether people want to or not, they start to embellish that story to make themselves a bigger part of it. Fair or not, right or wrong.
I couldn't agree with you more. That is so. I have to say about that. I really can't wait for you to finish that because I want to do a show on that because
we're going to do a show on it. We're
going to do one show just on the music and then one show just on the actual stuff that's been said. Also, the false allegations of Michael Irvin.
I can't wait to get to that. I hope that's its own episode.
Actually, one of the episodes almost basically is that.
I know you love him, but geez, man, the way they were able not to have to worry about and give him, right or wrong, give Everett McIver credit for being like, I don't. Is he on this? Does he talk? He kind of took his money and shut up and took a ring, and because let's be fair. By all accounts, Michael Irvin should have been up for at least attempted murder.
Irvin owns up to a lot of it too, especially with his wife, McIver, everything. I really feel that he owned up to it, and it was hard for me to watch because he's my favorite athlete, and it's just really hard to see that guy I revered so much that I kissed the screen on Thanksgiving Day in 1995 when he's doing a juggling touchdown catch because he really should have been the MVP of the 95 season. if I'm being honest. He basically carried that Cowboys offense.
Oh yeah. Again, I will contend that at one point Jerry Rice was the third best wide receiver in the league. It was Michael Irvin, Sterling Sharp, and then Jerry Rice. And that's not a knock on Rice by any stretch. It's just what Sterling Sharp and especially what Mike. And you talk about the 93, the 91 Michael Irvin season. I mean, holy crap.
That was his breakout year. He was healthy. The team was actually somewhat competitive. They were just missing Charles Haley. But yeah, that was the year that the entire Cowboys offense kind of just clicked.
And I love that episode. And I will give them credit because it would have been really, 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 really easy to be like, David Shula is why we sucked. Because Jimmy Johnson admits in his book, like, I didn't want to hire him. That was a Don Shula, which is kind of funny because he ended up in Miami. That was kind of a Don Shula leaning on me, and I didn't really have an offensive coordinator in mind. But yeah, you got to feel if you're David Shula, like I had all that. And I was the 25th rated offense in the league. But yeah, when you look at Michael Irvin, 1991 led the league, 1,500 yards passes. When you look at 92 and 93, this is one of those stats I've never understood. It's not a bigger thing. From 1991, 92 and 93, he led the league in first down receptions, meaning he caught a first down. Not that it was on first down. He created a first down. In fact, for his career, he had think about this. For his career, he had 750 receptions. 598 of them were first downs. The others, 65 that you don't count. I don't think the NFL counts a first down if you score a touchdown. I think in college you do, but if they didn't count that, so then you add the 65 touchdowns. So basically, almost every catch of his career was a first down or a touchdown.
And you wonder why they call him the playmaker. He was the guy. The reason why I love him so much is he was the guy that was 2nd and 9, and he would get you 10 yards. He would always get you just enough to get that first down. But he was so reliable. He was always available, and he just moved the chains. He continued drives. He frustrated defensive coordinators. He frustrated defenses. He really opened up the offense, and I will always be forever grateful to have. He's the reason why I love football or just sports in general. Just watching him play, I don't know. I could spend this whole podcast talking about him and how much I love Michael Irvin, but he's definitely someone I hold near and dear to my heart because without him. Okay, Grant.
Do they talk? Give me this. Does he talk about the basketball games?
No, he doesn't.
I told you that was a thing. The Cowboys in the 70s used to travel around and they would play they'd come to Irving MacArthur and play like the best alumni basketball players that were within age, And then the 90s Cowboys did that. And they talk about this in the Jeff Pearlman book. And by the way, if you don't know, check out Jeff Pearlman's YouTube channel. Go read his books. I love behind the scenes season stuff. And he writes some of the best. He has a great one about the Lakers. He has a great one about his Walter Payton one might be his best one. He has the Boys Will Be Boys. Great one with the Cowboys, but apparently when Irvin and Harper ran it in the 90s, they'd get ultra competitive and like demand more money and then knock out players in the middle of the game. I mean, it's just, it's the 90s. What do you expect? Anyway, I think we're done for the night, man.
Oh man, it was good conversations. I'm sad it was done early, but honestly, with week 8 of the NFL season, there was only one really good game, the Jets and Bengals. Everything else was pretty much blowouts.
Anybody have that on their bingo card? There's going to be only one good game this Sunday. The Packers and Steelers were competitive.
Until
second half, Aaron Rodgers. Speaking of real quick. Apparently the Steelers, Rodgers had made comments earlier this week about he didn't, I'm not sure when I'm done, but this is probably my last year. And when I retire, I want to be a Packer, which is, and by the way, I will give, as much as I give Aaron Rodgers crap for the things he said, the way he treated this week was very classy. Like, he never once was like, ha, Green Bay, you should have went with me or anything like that. Even when they lost, he was very like, look, this is my place. This is where I grew up. This is the NFL where I grew up. Green Bay will always will always be the place I'm going to retire there. But apparently Pittsburgh has already reached out to him that we want you back next year. I have no problem with that. I know they lost yesterday, and they're still the Steelers, but Aaron Rodgers looks so comfortable as a Steeler. And I want to give you credit because you said 5 years ago that if he would ever leave somewhere, he should go to Pittsburgh because Mike Tomlin is kind of like Mike McCarthy in the way they coach, very laid back but strict, and would let him be Aaron Rodgers.
I'm telling you something. Him and Tomlin just generally like each other. I saw it when the Packers played the Steelers. They really just got along really well together. And there's a lot of respect Aaron Rodgers has from Tomlin. That goes a long way with someone like Aaron Rodgers, especially as he's gotten older. He's starting to formulate his own thoughts, ayahuasca, his distancing from the family, off the field stuff notwithstanding. I feel that he's happy. He's at peace. And we can talk about that Sunday night game. Pittsburgh just abandoned the run in the second half. They were in control of the game. That helped Green Bay just storm back and just dominate the second half. But I think Rodgers has more than 1 year left in him.
I agree too, as long as Pittsburgh stays competitive and in the playoff race. All right, that is going to do it for the Week 8 show. Week 9, we will be starting later because we're going to watch the Cowboy game, or at least until, well, you know what, it's at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Cowboys going to win 48-46.
Hey, whoa. Does Kyler Murray start? One, and if he does start, do you still feel the Cowboys will win? Because Kyler Murray has not lost a game at AT&T Field as a high school player, as a college player, as a pro player.
I feel like this at home, Dallas is going to get 35 points. And I think Arizona can score, but Murray or Jacoby, both are the type that a couple late key turnovers type thing. Again, Dallas is going to win many games this year. They're also going to lose many. They are going to do the most Dallas of Dallas things and be a 17-game season, somehow still statistically finish completely 500. I'm actually rooting for that. And if it happens, we're going to have Outdrank the Coverage 881 shirts, and that's going to start a thing. 8 shots, 1 shot. I don't know how we'll do it over the day, but we're going to celebrate that in a live.
It'll be 1 shot of Stro at the end because we need to find Stro, and we need to go ahead and make that a thing.
Don't make it worse because I'll throw in Diesel too.
Okay, never mind. Back up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said anything. No Everclear, no Diesel, no Stro. Let's just drink water.
Just drink diesel water. All right. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, email the show, odtcnetwork@gmail.com. Enjoy the college football. We're going to be posting some content Saturday at the stadium in Arlington or Austin. I'm going to bring my mic. We'll also do a late night. If we stay in Austin, we'll do a react show to that game and other games. If we end up coming back, we might just do one Sunday morning before the NFL starts. We'll just because I'm going to go over to intern Noe's house for NFL Sunday. So we'll have all that in some kind of show. And again, next Monday, we'll be back. Cowboys, Arizona. The crawl to mediocrity continues for the Cowboys. Until then, he's intern Noe, the pro, the commissioner. I'm Terry, the host, and this has been Outdrank the Coverage on L4